Chapter 366. Marketplace Mayhem. For robber cultivators emerge. But when it came to Xiao Xie, things were different. Moreover, it was for her own sake that Xiao Xie had bought the True Yang Five-Element sword and earned this person's grudge, so naturally he had to take a stance. For such a trifle, she isn't concerned at all. Lu Lang need not be like this. Upon hearing these words, Xiao Xie immediately blossomed into a smile like a young girl and said, she was not one to fuss over minute details. Especially since cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, her emotions were mostly undisturbed by external matters. Such trifling issues didn't linger in her heart. But Lu Changsheng's words still stirred a trace of sweetness in her heart. All right? Lu Changsheng agreed with a smile and nodded his head. After chatting for a bit, the two of them changed their appearance and left, returning to their cave-dwelling area with different identities. Now that the auction had ended, there was no need to maintain their Foundation establishment false identities. Otherwise, two Foundation establishment cultivators with undisclosed backgrounds living in the marketplace would make the four great families uneasy and vigilant. Upon returning to the cave-dwelling area, Lu Changsheng found it to be much more crowded. It turned out that someone was preparing to attempt Foundation establishment, drawing many spectators. Moreover, the Red Leaf Valley Market had introduced a new policy. As long as certain conditions were met in the Red Leaf Market, the market would provide a dwelling for attempting Foundation establishment. To quickly increase the foot traffic in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the four great families have really put a lot of effort into it. But making such a move must also come with its share of risks, Lu Changsheng said softly as he shook his head upon seeing the announcement. Generally, only large marketplaces and immortal cities provided resources for attempting Foundation establishment. Red Leaf Valley only had a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein, which wasn't expansive, making it only a medium-sized marketplace. Just maintaining the internal spiritual energy of the marketplace and the operation of the Great Formation was already quite a task. If someone were to make a breakthrough to Foundation establishment, extensively drawing upon nature's spiritual energy would undoubtedly affect the operation of the Great Formation. If they encountered an enemy attack during this time, it could render the Great Formation unable to operate at full capacity. However, to develop the marketplace at its initial stage, advantages had to be extended as much as possible to attract people to settle and spend. Moreover, the four great families dared to implement this policy because their own families were not far from the Red Leaf Valley Market. Should any chaos ensue, they could arrive post-haste to suppress it. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, on the 3rd floor. Sister Miaoga, this step involves transitioning the flow, so you must control the spiritual power gently, like a trickling stream. On this day, Lu Changsheng was guiding Lu Miaoga in talisman making. In the past, he and Lu Miaoga exchanged insights on the talisman path, or he would give her subtle pointers. Now, having broken through to Foundation establishment and considered the foremost in the Lu family's talisman path, he was more inclined to show off his knowledge and directly guide her. After all, she was his wife-to-be. And by teaching and guiding her more, Lu Miaoga could also advance to 2nd-grade talisman master in the shortest time possible. Come, let me guide you in drawing at once. After the instruction, Lu Changsheng held Lu Miaoga's smooth and delicate hand, providing hands-on teaching and guiding her in drawing the talisman. Thus, after half an hour, the talisman was successfully drawn. Changsheng, with your talisman-making skill, it probably won't take long before you can successfully draw 2nd-rank talismans and become a 2nd-grade talisman master, right? As the talisman was successfully drawn, Lu Miaoga looked at Lu Changsheng with soft, gentle eyes, brimming with beauty, and spoke. As a talisman master, through such intimate teaching, she could clearly feel how exquisite Lu Changsheng's level of talisman making was. Even if Lu Changsheng claimed to be a 2nd-grade talisman master, she would believe it, because both were top-level 1st-grade talisman masters, yet she felt as if she and Lu Changsheng were worlds apart. I estimate it'll be another year or two, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Regarding this matter, he had always had a clear understanding. He planned to reveal himself as a 2nd-grade talisman master in about a year and a half. Ever since he announced his advancement to the 7th-level energy refinement, He had begun to exchange for second-rank talisman-making materials at the Lu family, signaling to others that he was attempting to draw second-rank talismans. 2 years, Lu Miaoga said on hearing this. Her eyes filled with joy. After so many years of companionship and as husband and wife, she naturally knew that if Lu Chongqing said so, it meant he was confident. Within 2 years, he would surely become a second-grade talisman master. This filled her with immense happiness. As a wife, who wouldn't want her husband to be powerful and accomplished? A second-grade talisman master might not be comparable to a Foundation Establishment grade cultivator, but Foundation Establishment cultivators would still have to show respect to a second-grade talisman master. Moreover, Lu Chongqing was only in his 30s. Becoming a second-grade talisman master at his age indicated a boundless future on the talisman path. If he were willing to work for some major power and connect with Foundation Establishment grade cultivators, he might even obtain a Foundation Establishment elixir and attempt Foundation Establishment himself. Lu Chongqing saw Lu Miaoga beaming with happiness as she looked at him. In her soft, water-like beautiful eyes, there was not only the affection and attachment between husband and wife, but also a maternal radiance mingled with a young girl's adoration and admiration. This gaze, even with a mere glance, softened one's heart and caused it to flutter. There's nothing more gratifying than liking the features of someone's face. That's right, at most in 2 years, your husband will become a second-grade talisman master. Lu Changsheng's own heart fluttered as he saw her gaze. He remembered how tolerant Lu Miaoga had been over the years, her gentle and intelligent nature in his presence, and her understanding demeanor. He felt as if having such a wife was all a man could ever wish for. Sister Miaoga, you should know that I've always concealed my cultivation level. In fact, when I previously claimed to have broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, I had actually reached the 9th level. Knowing that the news of his imminent advancement to second-grade talisman master made Lu Miaoga so happy, Lu Chongqing simply decided to share more news to make her happy. Chapter 367. Marketplace Mayhem, for robber cultivators emerge. After all, when they had used dual cultivation to save Lu Miaoga, she had found out that he was at the energy refinement late stage. It's just that he didn't mention it, and Lu Miaoga never asked about it. Now that he had made a breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, it was not a big deal to reveal a little about his cultivation level. 9th level energy refinement. Chongsheng, you've broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoga indeed couldn't hide her immense surprise, her beautiful eyes rippling softly with happiness for him. In the cultivation world, breaking through to the energy refinement late stage before the age of 40 meant there was hope for Foundation Establishment. Now that Lu Chongqing had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement at the age of 33, it was not at all an overstatement to call him a genius. Across all of Qingzhou Mountain, there were only a few people who could achieve the 9th level of energy refinement at such an age. Although she didn't understand how Lu Chongqing, with a 9th grade spiritual root, had achieved such a cultivation level in just over a decade, she did not ask further. She knew that Lu Chongqing had his own secrets. Of course, when have I ever deceived you? Observing her reaction, Lu Chongqing couldn't help but smile and spoke accordingly. However, deep down he felt guilty for deceiving her again regarding his cultivation level. I always knew you were extraordinary, Chongqing. Lu Miaoga, with her clear and gentle demeanor, said with a heart full of joy. Why did you suddenly bring this up today? She had long known that Lu Chongqing was at the energy refinement late stage, but she did not know the specifics of his cultivation level. Because I know, Sister Miaoga, you've always wanted me to diligently pursue cultivation and aim for Foundation Establishment in the future. Seeing you so happy about the second-grade talisman master, I didn't want to hide, and I wanted to make you happier. Lu Chongqing hugged Lu Miaoga, resting his chin lightly on her silky hair, and spoke the honest truth. I'm very happy. I believe, Chongqing, that you will definitely become a Foundation Establishment great cultivator in the future. Lu Miaoga nestled in Lu Changsheng's arms, her heart sweet and her eyes brimming with affection as she spoke softly. Having spent so many years together, she was naturally aware that Lu Chongqing had many secrets. Whether it was from the time he saved her, his current 9th-level energy refinement, or the previous involvement with the Three Suns elixir, among others. Outsiders might not be able to figure it out, but as his closest companion, she could sense some of it. The fact that Lu Chongqing was willing to reveal some to her also made her very happy. It's not just me, it's us. In the future, we will both achieve foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing said warmly. He had not only the foundation establishment elixir but also 4 foundation establishment spirit objects. He had not sold these spiritual objects. They were reserved for Lu Miaoge. With these conditions, he did not believe that Lu Miaoge would fail to succeed in foundation establishment. If she still failed, he would forcibly help Lu Miaoge condense her Dao foundation using the dual cultivation secret technique from the yin-yang harmony technique. Even though it would only be a fractured foundation base, it could still be slowly repaired into a flawless foundation base using the yin-yang 5 elements foundation base afterward. MHM. Lu Miaoge softly replied, nestling in Lu Changsheng's embrace, her tender and affection-filled eyes displaying a longing for what was to come. She looked forward to that day truly coming. But family members know their own difficulties. She was very aware that without a foundation establishment elixir, relying solely on a few foundation establishment spirit objects, her chances of achieving foundation establishment were at best 2 or 3 in 10. The two of them just embraced each other quietly. Before long, Lu Miaoge's delicate body trembled slightly. Her limbs felt soft, her cheeks blushed faintly, and her slender neck tilted back slightly. Is this? Someone is making a breakthrough to foundation establishment? At that moment, Lu Miaoge looked out the window and saw that in the dwelling area of Redleaf Valley, a vortex of spiritual energy was slowly gathering, and she gently stopped Lu Changsheng's playful actions inside his robe. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing also stopped and looked toward the window. He immediately saw a vortex of spiritual energy several meters across steadily growing larger in the distance. This step indicated that the person had already passed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and was starting to condense spiritual liquid, preparing to lift up their Dao foundation. He must be the cultivator who bought the earth-fire spiritual liquid. It seems he has already crossed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and is now at the critical stage of foundation establishment, Lu Chongqing said out loud. I heard he only has the earth-fire spiritual liquid as a foundation establishment spirit object. It's uncertain whether he'll be successful or not, Lu Miaoge murmured, her rosy cheeks tinged with a touch of sentimentality. She wasn't worried about the other party. She was seeing her own future path. After all, for most cultivators without a foundation establishment elixir, attempting foundation establishment meant staking their lives. Gambling on that 10 to 20% chance. The Lu family would produce foundation establishment hopefuls every few generations. But until the Lu family ancestor was near the end of his life and Lu Yuanzhong managed to achieve foundation establishment, it was known how difficult this life-risking chance was. Furthermore, Lu Yuanzhong managed to break through only because Lu Yuanshan had obtained the ingredients for a foundation establishment elixir in the Purple Shadow secret realm, partnered with others for alchemy, and successfully used the elixir to make the breakthrough. It's hard to say. After all, the hardest part of foundation establishment is this step where 80% fail, Lu Chongqing said, while playfully touching the plump and smooth snow-white skin. He had respect for someone who, without a foundation establishment elixir and only 10 to 20% chance, dared to gamble in such a way. After all, these people who were willing to give it everything typically had good foundations. Not only were their spiritual roots good, but they were also relatively young, only in their 40s or 50s. In that situation, they dared to forsake everything, risking their lives for that slim chance at foundation establishment. Sister Miaoge, it's getting late. After watching for a while, Lu Chongqing lost interest and said warmly to the beauty in front of him. After all, foundation-building phenomena weren't as compelling as the lovely person before his eyes. Moreover, such an event as foundation establishment wouldn't yield results in just a moment or two. It required sustained time. Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Chongqing, who was acting childishly, and cooed, rolling her eyes at him with a playful scowl. Chapter 368. Marketplace Mayhem. for robber cultivators emerge. _4. But being entangled by Lu Chongxing like this, she felt an indescribable sense of fulfillment pounding in her heart. At this moment, around the cave-dwelling area, numerous cultivators were watching the vortex of nature's spiritual energy in the sky. In large marketplaces and immortal cities, there are usually 1 or 2 people who attempt foundation establishment every year, so it's nothing out of the ordinary for everyone. But in Red Leaf Valley Market, foundation establishment is a rare event. Since it was the first time, naturally many people came to watch. Some also wanted to see if this person could succeed in their attempt. If they did succeed, then to congratulate them and become acquainted could be beneficial. Perhaps in a good mood, the successful cultivator might even bestow some rewards on them. The condensation of the gel has already begun. In another 3 days, it will be a good time to take action, someone said. Within the crowd, a tall and burly middle-aged man and a slender woman in a blue robe glanced at each other, nodded slightly, and then walked away. 3 days later, that night, after the hustle and bustle of the daytime, the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into peace during the late hours. Apart from the law enforcement cultivators patrolling the airspace above the streets, only a few shops and inns still had their lights on. After all, cultivators need to rest too. Most cultivators would sleep at night or meditate and practice cultivation. Creak. Inside an inn, 3 figures wearing gray vestment robes and bamboo hats walked out of their room. They looked at each other and nodded, then quickly made their way to the first floor. "Where are the spirit stones of the shop?" the lead burly man asked the shopkeeper, who was keeping vigil at the counter, in a deep voice. "Spirit stones? What spirit stones?" the shopkeeper asked, baffled and slow to react. But the next moment, a white bone crossbow bolt, accompanied by a terrifying aura, locked onto him. He jolted in shock, as a chilling fear ran down his spine, instantly realizing what was happening. Robber cultivator. The man before his eyes was a robber cultivator, a foundation establishment robber cultivator. "Senior, all the spirit stones are here." "They're all here?" said the shopkeeper, his legs trembling uncontrollably as he quickly took out a storage bag, his face rigidly smiling as he begged for mercy. Knowing the other party was a foundation establishment cultivator and still dared to rob so boldly, he didn't dare to resist even the slightest bit. He understood that the slightest dissatisfaction could cost him his life. "Is there more?" the burly man asked hoarsely after scanning the storage bag. Choosing to start from this inn was also the result of careful observation and planning. This inn did very good business. "Senior, our inn settles accounts with spirit stones weekly, and the owner comes every week to clear the accounts." "All the spirit stones are indeed here," explained the shopkeeper with a mournful face. After speaking, somewhat painfully, he pulled out his own storage bag and said, "Senior, these are my own savings. If the senior fancies them, please take them, I only ask that." But before he could finish, a small white bone arrow shot out. "Eft! He. The arrow pierced through the shopkeeper's head, making his eyes bulge with indignation as he died, unable to utter the words he wanted to say. He then fell to the ground with a thump, his body rapidly drained of blood by the white bone arrow, leaving a dried-up corpse. "The agreed-upon time is almost upon us. You go first to interfere with the great formation. I'll handle matters here," the burly man said to the gray-robed female cultivator and the young man in gray beside him. "Dad, be careful," the gray-robed young man said with concern. "Stop dawdling," the burly man replied impatiently, waving his hand dismissively. Thereupon, the gray-robed woman quickly left, pulling the young man with her. "Green wolf," the burly man patted his spiritual pet bag. A green wolf 1 zhang tall, with dark green fur, gloomy eyes, and ferocious fangs, appeared at his side. After the green wolf appeared, it opened its huge mouth and devoured the shopkeeper's dried-up corpse. It then went to the entrance of the inn, its eyes gleaming with a predatory light. The burly man then took out a child-sized black gourd. "Go!" he commanded, unsealing the gourd with hand seals. Black flames, like fire serpents, rolled out of the mouth of the gourd. Instantly, The inn was engulfed in flames, with thick black smoke billowing towards the sky. Amidst the roaring black flames and the spreading smoke, cries of pain and screams began to rise from within the inn. What's going on here? It's on fire. No, this isn't just a fire. This is evil flames with poison fire. Some cultivators inside the inn, realizing the danger, immediately fled through windows or by flying on artifacts. But the burly man, along with a green giant wolf, holding the black gourd in one hand and a white bone crossbow bolt in the other, lay in ambush outside the inn. Anyone who escaped from the inn was immediately targeted by him. A white bone arrow shot out swiftly, killing the person and snatching their storage bag with practiced ease. Audacious robber cultivator, daring to cause chaos in the marketplace. Soon, the Red Leaf Valley Market's patrol enforcement team, upon noticing the situation and the rising black smoke, quickly arrived on the scene. However, the burly man showed no fear facing this group of law enforcement cultivators. A white bone crossbow bolt was released from his hand, instantly killing a law cultivator who was at the energy refinement late stage. Not good. It's a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Quick! Notify the ancestor! The other law enforcement cultivators exclaimed in shock as they took out their transmission jade tokens. At the same time, they activated a formation artifact, hoping to harness the power of the marketplace's great formation to resist the burly man. But the burly man was prepared. His expression was calm and indifferent beneath his bamboo hat as he performed hand seals, causing gray light pillars to surge from the ground. They caused the black smoke, still billowing from the burning inn, to rapidly roll towards the law enforcement cultivators, like dark clouds descending. To prevent escapees or reinforcements, he had laid a trap ahead of time. As the black smoke enveloped the law enforcement cultivators, they felt the fire poison spreading through their bodies, stiffening their movements and slowing down their spiritual power. Chapter 369. Marketplace Mayhem. For robber cultivators emerge. _5. Pu. The next moment, a continual barrage of white bone crossbow bolts shot out, turning into beams of soul-snatching streaks of deadly light that quickly annihilated several people. Roar! A green wolf roared beside them, devouring a few corpses. Let's go! Seeing that the cleanup on this side was almost done, the burly man adjusted the straw hat on his head and quickly charged towards a magical artifact shop. He had been preparing for this robbery for nearly half a month. He had naturally scoped out the place in the marketplace to maximize his gains as much as possible. Just as the burly man used a black gourd to break through the shop's formation with black flames and plunder it bare, he sensed a Foundation establishment aura rushing towards this area. They're finally here. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he took out a transmission talisman and crushed it. How dare you, robber cultivator, to create such chaos in our Red Leaf Valley Market? A roar of anger echoed in the night sky. Before the man arrived, a fiery crimson will surged towards them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The golden will spun rapidly in the air, resembling a blazing sun, bursting with scorching heat, its might overwhelming. Swoosh! Upon seeing this, the burly man's white bone crossbow bolt was swathed in strands of dark, dense blood, and a blood-veined white bone arrow suddenly shot out. Clang! The white bone arrow collided with the fiery crimson will mid-air, producing a deafening metallic clang. Subsequently, 2 currents of mana surged, stirring up waves of air currents in the night sky. A Foundation establishment cultivator? Yuanshan looked at the burly man. His pupils contracted, showing a grave expression. But when he saw the smoky ruin of the magical artifact shop, his eyes immediately blazed with fury. This shop was, in fact, owned by his family. There were magic artifacts inside worth nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Now that the shop had been plundered to emptiness, it was akin to losing nearly 10,000 spirit stones. This amount of spirit stones was a considerable sum for their family. Dare to plunder in our Red Leaf Valley Market? Die! He bellowed angrily, as another ice blue crescent will appeared around him. the crescent wheel spun, emitting a bone-chilling coldness that lowered the surrounding air temperature by several degrees, and suddenly slashed towards the burly man. Meanwhile, he produced an array plate in his hand, manipulating it to utilize the power of the marketplace's great formation to suppress the intruder. But the next moment, boom, boom, booming, countless flashes of lightning struck the Red Leaf Valley Market's green water cloud formation. The formation flickered, with spiritual light converging and lightning snakes wildly dancing in the night, accompanied by dull, thunderous explosions that sounded one after another. At this moment, the calmness inside the market was completely shattered, and turmoil erupted. Many hidden robber cultivators, as if they had received a signal, directly rushed into various shops and businesses with their magic artifacts, slaughtering their way in. What is this? Yu Yuanshan's complexion changed drastically at the sight of this. He was unafraid of his opponent in the market because of the green water cloud great formation. With the boost from this great formation, and the power of the formation aiding him, he was confident he could kill Foundation Establishment middle-stage cultivators. Even against late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators, he would manage to delay until reinforcements arrived. However, seeing this situation, he immediately realized that those who dared to plunder the market so brazenly must have come prepared. Fellow Taoist, I don't care who you are, if you're willing to withdraw now, I am willing to let bygones be bygones and let the matter rest, Yu Yuanshan said to the burly man, suppressing the rage in his heart. At present, because someone in the Red Leaf Valley Market was undergoing Foundation establishment, the internal circulation of spiritual energy was insufficient, and the Great Formation couldn't operate at full strength. Now that the formation was being bombarded and shaken like this, he realized that there was another Foundation Establishment cultivator on the attacker's side. Even with 2 Foundation Establishment cultivators, he could rely on the formation to barely delay until support arrived. But if the commotion continued, the entire marketplace would descend into chaos. If the marketplace fell into chaos, all the effort and management of their 4 big families over the years would be ruined. Leave now. The burly man laughed at Yu Yuanshan's words, appearing to have heard some joke. He looked at Yu Yuanshan with a hoarse voice and said, "How about this? As long as you do not interfere with me, I'll try not to plunder your Yu family's shops. Give me half an hour at most, and I will leave immediately. How about that?" The burly man said. He knew he had to leave after a quick plunder. Otherwise, once the 4 big families of Red Leaf Valley Market received the message and came to support, even he would struggle to fend them off. Fellow Taoist, are you joking? If you leave now, there's still time, Yu Yuanshan said darkly. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, besides their 4 big families, there were also many other Foundation Establishment families that had settled in. If he allowed the robber to plunder, they would be held accountable for compensation later on. Especially since he, Yu Yuanshan, was stationed in the Red Leaf Valley Market, his inability to prevent the incident would be inexcusable and he would struggle to explain himself. Since we can't reach an agreement, let's have a fight and see what you've got. The burly man formed hand seals, causing the black gourd to float above his head, while the white bone crossbow turned into a reddish spiritual artifact long sword. What's going on? My God! Someone is attacking the market. This is bad. Robber cultivators. Robber cultivators have breached the market. As the heavenly cloud and water formation of the market shook, countless people woke up from their sleep or meditation and looked outside, watching the roiling black smoke in the night sky that looked like dark clouds descending upon a city, with the green water cloud formation flashing irregularly and rumbling continuously, trembling non-stop. A wave of panic began to spread from within the market. Additionally, many loose cultivators seeing this situation couldn't help but feel greed, wanting to take advantage of the chaos for profit. Chapter 370. Marketplace Mayhem. For robber cultivators emerge. _6. After all, the cultivation world is a place where the strong prey on the weak, utterly unregulated. In the marketplace, rules are adhered to because Foundation Establishment great cultivators are in charge, supported by law enforcement cultivators. Now that robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace, chaos reigns, order collapses, and under the temptation of immense profits, anyone could turn into a robber cultivator. Brothers, what are you waiting for, loot? Inside a certain inn, a loose cultivator saw the situation and immediately shouted, trying to incite more people to join the action. Laner, you stay at home and take care of the children. They'll be right back. Husband, don't go. Please don't. Fortune comes with risk. This may be my only chance in life. I can't give it up. Just stay safe at home. He'll be back soon. In a small courtyard, a tall man with a magical sword in hand said to his wife, "This old fool has lived a life of timidity. For the sake of our descendants, it's worth a gamble." Within a narrow and simple dwelling, an old man with a face showing age and hair as white as frost, looking up at the sky, gritted his teeth. He then took out a somewhat damaged flying sword and left the house. For loose cultivators, the chaos in the marketplace is dangerous, but also an opportunity. Dependent on stable jobs, they can never earn many spirit stones in their lifetime. But if they can take advantage of the confusion to seize some elixir medicines, magic artifacts, or heavenly and earthly treasures, they could save countless years of effort. In a moment, the entire marketplace was filled with the sounds of combat, cries for help, and weeping, all intermingling. The Lu family compound. Robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace? Lu Chongsheng, looking out the window at the distant commotion. At the moment Yu Yuanshan took action and the two foundation establishment cultivators clashed. He had sensed the disturbance and woken from his sleep. Now he heard the great formation of Red Leaf Valley rumbling loudly. Under the roaring thunder and erratic flashes of ominous, sinister purple light, he was nearly certain that robber cultivators were attacking the marketplace, and they were striking from both inside and outside the marketplace. Otherwise, such a commotion would have been impossible. Just when someone is attempting foundation establishment in the marketplace and the great formation can't be fully powered, robber cultivators come. Clearly, they came prepared. Lu Chongsheng murmured calmly to himself. He had previously sensed that allowing someone to undergo foundation establishment in the Red Leaf Valley market would increase risks. But he hadn't expected such an incident to happen so soon and with such ferocity. Chongsheng. At this moment, Lu Miaoge also woke up due to the noise and looked out the window, noticing the abnormal state of the green water cloud formation, her face showing shock. It seems robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace to loot. Lu Chongsheng turned back and said to Lu Miaoge, "Robber cultivators raiding the marketplace?" Hearing this, Lu Miaoge was immediately startled. Such incidents have occurred in the cultivation world before. There have even been robber cultivators who secretly wiped out some cultivation families. However, these events were rare and very uncommon. She hadn't expected that the Red Leaf Valley market would encounter such an ordeal now. "Our shop might also be getting looted right now. I'll go have a look," Lu Chongsheng said to Lu Miaoge. He could tell that the robber cultivators were mainly targeting the commercial district. They wouldn't come to the residential area. After all, the residential area where the Lu family compound was located was considered a more central part of Red Leaf Valley Market. People who lived there were not ordinary in terms of status, identity, and strength. It would be more trouble than it was worth to come here, so looting shops and stores was a quicker way to gain money. "I'll go with you," Lu Miaoge said immediately. "Stay here in the compound. I have plenty of talismans with me, and it'll be fine," Lu Chongsheng told Lu Miaoge. He planned to check not only the shop but also to see exactly what was happening in the marketplace. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market belonged to the 4 major families, and he had both a shop and a cave dwelling there. If this chaos continued, the entire marketplace might suffer a crippling blow, taking a decade or more to recover. Uncle Yuan Ling is watching over the compound. "Chongsheng, I'll go with you," Lu Miaoge continued, her beautiful face showing determination. The current situation was extremely chaotic, and she truly didn't feel comfortable letting Lu Chongsheng go alone to investigate. After all, if robber cultivators dared to raid the marketplace, there must be foundation establishment cultivators leading them. Otherwise, the commotion wouldn't be as big. "All right, let's go together then," Lu Chongsheng, seeing his wife's firm expression, smiled and nodded his head. Knowing that Lu Miaoga was also stubborn despite appearing tender, and seeing her looking so determined, he found it difficult to refuse. Immediately, they both left the courtyard. At this time, other members of the Lu family also began to leave their houses. Chongqing Miaoga, second elder sister Miaoga. Seeing Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoga, they all called out. Second elder, with robber cultivators raiding the marketplace, Miaoga and I will go check our shop, Lu Chongsheng said to one of them. This Lu family second elder was no longer the same as the one from the Nine Dragons market. He was a newly promoted elder from last year, named Lu Yuanling. He was currently in charge of the Red Leaf Valley marketplace for the Lu family. Okay, Chongsheng Miaoga, be careful, Lu Yuanling said after a moment's thought, nodding his head. He knew that Lu Chongqing had broken through to the 7th level energy refinement and Lu Miaoga possessed 9th level energy refinement strength. As talisman masters with talismans at their sides, they shouldn't run into much trouble. Yuanqing, Miaofeng, Miaoyu, the rest of you follow me. He looked at several other Lu family disciples and executors issuing orders. With the marketplace in upheaval and the looting by robber cultivators, they needed to ensure the shops were secure and try to stabilize the situation as much as possible. After all, the Lu family still had the most invested in the marketplace and would suffer significant losses if the chaos continued. Understood. The others nodded and left the compound, rushing towards the commercial district. Chapter 371. Making a move, slain with one sword, _1. Plaintext, boom, boom, boom. Endless thunderous sounds bombarded the great formation of Red Leaf Valley Market, making the entire marketplace flicker between light and darkness, eerily uncertain. And the original thin mist that enveloped the marketplace now rapidly thickened at this moment, as a powerful surge of spiritual power fluctuated throughout. It turned the entire formation into the color of the sky-blue jade bowl, with layers of water patterns flowing on it, enveloping the market. Now that the robber cultivators were attacking the market, the 4 major families were unsure of the situation, whether there were more robber cultivators outside planning to attack the marketplace. Thus, faced with this situation, it was natural to fully activate the Great Formation and seal off the marketplace. To prevent robber cultivators from killing their way into the marketplace, to prevent those within from escaping, and to restrain the loose cultivators from causing chaos while waiting for support from the 4 major families to arrive. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoga quickly arrived at the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. They immediately saw 4 cultivators unleashing techniques against the Lu family spiritual talisman shop, bombarding it furiously. These groups of robber cultivators, raiding the marketplace, naturally picked the better shops to plunder first. And the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop in the entire marketplace was also one of the better shops, which is why it was the first to be targeted by the robber cultivators. Fellow Taoist, if this is your family's shop, we will take our leave now. If it's not your family's shop, please do not meddle. The 4 robber cultivators bombarding the shop's formation saw Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoga rush over and immediately showed caution in their eyes. From their clothing, demeanor, and temperament, they could tell that Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoga were no ordinary robber cultivators or loose cultivators. Seeing the 2 people hurry to this place, they guessed that it was very likely that they were the shop owners. Therefore, they were unwilling to engage in conflict. After all, with the market in chaos, their goal was to profit as quickly as possible. There was no need for pointless strife. Clang! Without a word, Lu Chongqing slapped his storage bag, and the green-faced sword was unsheathed. He had mostly sold the unused flying swords and magical artifacts he had on him. Only the green-faced sword the 4th elder had given him remained. Now that Lu Miaoga was by his side, it was inconvenient to show off the spiritual artifact, so he used this magical sword instead. However, to kill these robber cultivators, a magical sword was already enough. Swoosh, the flying sword unsheathed, its green-gold light circling, the blade unveiled striking brilliance, strands of sword chi spat out, like a divine rainbow directly lunging at the 4 people. All 4 were attacking his shop. How could he waste time talking with them? Not good. Watch out! Seeing the flying sword coming toward them, the four hastily stimulated their protective auras and wielded their magic artifacts. But even the most advanced among them was only at the 8th level energy refinement stage. Faced with the extremely sharp green-face sword with explosive sword chi slashing at them, they had no time to defend and couldn't stop it. Thunk, thunk, thunk. The protective auras around the four were instantly pierced by the cold sword chi, followed by their heads being severed by the blade's light. With one move, 1 at the energy refinement late stage, 3 at the middle stage, all died. Changxing. Seeing this scene, Lu Maiage's eyes revealed shock and surprise. She was surprised not only by Lu Changxing's strength, but also by his decisiveness and ruthlessness in killing. After so many years of living together, in her eyes, Lu Changxing had always been a gentle and refined man, handling matters as gently as a breeze or drizzling rain. He never argued or fought with others, much less engage in combat or killing. So at this moment, seeing Lu Changxing decisively act against the 4 robber cultivators without mercy and instantly slaying them, she was utterly astonished. It was as if she had seen another side of her husband. These people wanted to profit from the chaos, so they should be ready for this. Lu Changxing let out a light laugh, said casually, and sheathed the green-faced sword. In this situation, he didn't bother to hide anything in front of Lu Miaoge. Or rather, in terms of acting decisively, he had not really hidden it. It's just that his disposition was inherently easygoing and gentle, and when dealing with family, he would not show any killer instinct. I know. It's just the first time I've seen you act so decisively, Changxing, which is why I was surprised. Lu Miaoge pursed her lips, her eyes full of softness, and spoke gently. She did not mind Lu Changxing killing people. In her eyes, this was not something evil or bad. In the ruthless cultivation world, if you don't kill, others will kill you. Whether it's an individual or a family, once you step on the path of cultivation, you cannot escape killing. Just like the time when the Lu family and the Qin family battled, when the Lu family and the Bai family went to war with many of the Pingon family's children, it was a way to let their own children experience a baptism of blood to understand the cruelty of the cultivation world. Mistress. At this time, from inside the spiritual talisman shop, 2 young women hurried out, their souls still unsettled as they called out to Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing. They were apprentices at the spiritual talisman shop. They lived there on regular days. The recent events had scared them quite a bit. Xiao Yun, Xiao Shui, you've worked hard, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle face, looking at the 2. Sister Miaoge, you stay here. I'm going to check on the Peace Talisman Hall. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoge. Given the spiritual talisman shop was targeted, he estimated his talisman shop suffered the same fate. Moreover, with Lu Miaoge by his side, he couldn't exhibit his full strength, and his actions were somewhat hindered. Okay. Changxing, be careful. Lu Miaoge nodded. She didn't say she wanted to accompany Lu Changxing any longer. Her insistence on being with Lu Changxing before was due to her lack of confidence in him. Worried that, despite his cultivation level, he was not adept at combat. But having now witnessed Lu Changxing's strength and decisiveness, her worries dissipated. Knowing that Lu Changxing was even better than her in combat and killing. Sister Miaoge, rest assured, I have talismans with me, nothing will happen. You also be careful, and send me a message immediately if anything happens. Chapter 372. Making a move, slain with one sword. Lu Changxing nodded his head. Red Leaf Valley Market was not very big. In case of any emergencies, he could rush over quickly. Thus, he wasn't worried that Lu Miaoge would encounter any accidents. Moreover, with Lu Maiage's 9th level energy refinement cultivation level and talismans by her side, as long as she didn't run into any foundation establishment cultivators, she would be fine. Okay. Lu Miaoge nodded lightly. Then, she led 2 apprentices into the spiritual talisman shop, fully activating the shop's formations to prevent any robber cultivators from coming again. Lu Changxing, holding the green-faced sword, steered his flying artifact towards the Peace Talisman Hall. Ha ha ha! Rob everything now while you can. Once the chaos is subdued, there will be no more chances. Ha ha ha! Exhilarating. With these elixir medicines, I can break through to the energy refinement late stage. On the streets, several robber cultivators were attacking a shop. After blasting open the shop's formation, they went in and plundered everything. Puff, puff, puff. Seeing this situation, Lu Chongqing stepped forward and struck without any mercy, slashing to kill the offenders. Robber cultivators deserved death. In face of such, he naturally would not show mercy. These ill-gotten gains will be considered robbing the wicked to aid the poor. After burning the bodies of the several people, Lu Chongqing picked up the storage bags, thinking to himself, boom, boom, boom. Just then, a surge of mana power fluctuations swept across the area from ahead. The nearby loft that was engulfed in flames could no longer bear the burden and collapsed with a crash into ruins. Lu Chongqing looked up. He saw the patriarch of the Yu family up in the sky, wielding a red-yellow disc and an ice-blue crescent wheel, clashing with a robust man wearing a bamboo hat and holding a red long knife. Each collision of their magic artifacts caused a fearsome might. This patriarch of the Yu family seems pretty weak. Lu Chongqing frowned slightly as he watched the robust man and the patriarch of the Yu family fight. He noted that the patriarch of the Yu family strength seemed no different from that of the former Lu family ancestor and ancestor Chun. Compared to the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he was much weaker. Well, that's to be expected. Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, Wugong Ridge, and even by Lake Mountain, these families are all minor ones. Not only is their foundation limited, their ancestors spend most of their time after the foundation establishment in the family, rarely venturing out for experience, so their strength is naturally ordinary. It's impossible for them to compare with robber cultivators that dare to plunder the marketplace, let alone the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai from before. Lu Chongqing thought internally. This robust man who dared to rob the marketplace naturally had some strength and methods. As for the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he had reaped spoils of war valued at more than 100,000 spirit stones from the red-robed youth, among which there was even a peripheral sect-level cultivation method. From this, one could see that this person was not simple. One should know that the four big families, with hundreds of years of inheritance, had at most high-grade cultivation techniques and exquisite-level cultivation methods. From this, one could see the disparity between them. As for Meng Yibai, there was no need to say more. Not only was he an elite disciple of Qingyun's sect, but he also had a false core elder, so naturally, his strength was among the best. However, looking at this robber cultivator, he seems to still have some strength to spare. Lu Chongqing's brows furrowed as he watched the gray-robed robber cultivator who kept clashing with the patriarch of the Yu family. He felt that the other party was dealing with the patriarch of the Yu family's attacks quite comfortably, as if he had plenty of room to maneuver. This robber cultivator is just trying to delay the patriarch of the Yu family. Lu Chongqing's eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced again at the marketplace's green water cloud formation that was flickering in the sky above. At that moment, the formation was already fully operational. But under the constant interference of endless lightning, it could only defend and seal off the marketplace, making it difficult to suppress the enemy. Indeed, these robber cultivators came prepared, and there are quite a few accomplices. What he wants to do is to keep the patriarch of the Yu family occupied while his accomplices take the opportunity to plunder the marketplace. So, he doesn't want to push the patriarch of the Yu family into a corner. After all, although the marketplace's green water cloud formation is interfered with and affected, it's not broken. If the patriarch of the Yu family gets desperate and abandons the marketplace's seal, letting the formation fully enhance his own body to attack and subdue the enemy, this person will also have a tough time handling it. He might not die but would surely be skinned. Lu Chongqing stroked his chin and roughly understood the situation. The marketplace's green water cloud formation was indeed being interfered with from multiple angles. But it was not useless. It's just that, by using its full force to seal the marketplace, it was no longer available for subduing enemies. If the patriarch of the Yu family abandoned the formation sealing and was willing to pay some price, he could still control the formation to kill enemies. But doing that would not only result in his own loss. The marketplace would descend into complete chaos as well. After all, No one was clear about the situation of the robber cultivators inside and outside the marketplace. Currently, there were many loose cultivators who, seeing the marketplace sealed by the formation, did not dare to take the risk and become robber cultivators. If there was no longer a formation seal, then all restraints would be lifted. However, continuing like this is not the solution. This patriarch of the Yu family is too useless. He clearly cannot take down this robber cultivator. He can only delay and wait for reinforcements to arrive, but it will take at least an hour for help from nearby Qingzhou Mountain to arrive. In an hour, this marketplace will have been completely plundered, with not only heavy losses incurred, but also the number of people coming here will surely plummet. Lu Chongqing watched as the marketplace gradually erupted into flames, with the sounds of spells exploding and clashing coming from afar. His brows slightly furrowed. He knew that if this continued, not only would the marketplace be robbed, but many would die as well. Forget it, I might as well take action. After all, it's considered my marketplace, and he'll need to stay here for a long time. Lu Chongqing thought to himself, ready to disguise himself and step in to end the chaos. Just at that moment, the sensing talisman in his storage bag lit up. It was Xiao Xie's sensing talisman. Chapter 373. Making a move, slain with one sword. He immediately channeled mana into the jade talisman. Thus, the other party could sense his position. Chongqing. Before long, a woman veiled in light gauze, dressed in a blue dress, and maneuvering a flying artifact, came and transmitted her voice to him. Shiyu. Lu Chongqing looked at the woman. He knew the person who came was Xiao Xie. The other party did not wish to reveal their identity, which is why they had disguised themselves. Chongqing, what's happening? Xiao Xie had been meditating in the cave-dwelling area and was also awakened by the commotion of the marketplace's great formation. So she immediately came looking for Lu Chongqing to check the situation. It should be someone in the marketplace undergoing foundation establishment, causing the marketplace's great formation to be affected during this time, unable to operate at full strength, and thus drawing the attention of robber cultivators. Lu Chongqing relayed through divine sense. Do you need me to take action? Upon hearing this, Xiao Xie looked towards the sky, at the patriarch of the Yu family who was fighting with the brawny man. She knew that Lu Chongqing did not wish to expose his identity or cultivation level and found it inconvenient to act. I'll do it. You hold back and see how things unfold before you act, Lu Chongqing said to Xiao Xie. Now that he had the 7 Luminaries heart lamp and the Truyang 5-element sword, he also wanted to see how his combat prowess was. Moreover, judging from the battle scene, Xiao Xie taking action might not be enough to resolve the situation. After all, according to his earlier speculation, those who dared to loot the marketplace like this must have something up their sleeve, including other foundation establishment cultivators. All right, then let Shiyu witness Lu Lang's heroic bearing. Xiao Xie responded with a slight smile upon hearing this. She knew that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Chongqing. Therefore, she was quite confident in Lu Changsheng's abilities. Moreover, she also wanted to witness Lu Changsheng's strength. All right, today you shall see, Lu Chongqing replied, also with a light chuckle. He then found a secluded spot where no one was around and put on the 100 Illusions mask. Instantly, his handsome face changed into something rougher and more ferocious. His long hair scattered, and he exchanged his green robe for a dark, wide robe. This should do it. After disguising himself, Lu Chongqing checked his appearance. Unless the other party possessed some eye technique, they should not be able to see his true face. The next moment, his figure shot out, changing his position. Mana surged within his body, forming an escape light that shot into the sky. A foundation establishment great cultivator? The patriarch of the Yu family and the brawny man, engaged in combat, both looked towards Lu Chongqing in the escape light, taken aback. They did not understand the situation and whether Lu Chongqing was friend or foe. Another foundation establishment great cultivator? How has another foundation establishment great cultivator appeared? Could this person also be a robber cultivator? If so, Ancestor Yu is in danger. Inside the marketplace, many people were focused on the combat in the sky. Seeing an escape light shooting into the sky, they all showed shocked and anxious expressions. They did not know if this Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator was good or bad. If this Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator were also a robber cultivator, then the marketplace would be doomed, and they would be in danger too. What's all this noise late at night? Not letting people rest, are you? Lu Chongqing stood with his hands behind him, a few yards away from the two men, with a look of displeasure. Powered up by the profound origin bead, he radiated a mana imposing enough not to be inferior to that of a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator. Fellow Taoist, I am in charge of this Red Leaf Valley market. This person is a troublesome robber cultivator. I beg you to lend a hand. Afterward, our Red Leaf Valley market will surely offer you a generous reward. The patriarch of the Yu family called out, a trace of panic in his heart. He did not understand how a Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator had been concealed within the marketplace. Feeling that Lu Chongqing was not allied with the present robber cultivator, he promptly asked for help respectfully. I'm sorry for disturbing your rest, fellow Taoist. These spirit stones are for compensating you. Please forgive us, and I shall leave after an incense stick's burn time, the brawny man said, taking out a storage bag and tossing it towards Lu Chongqing. He also did not understand how a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator suddenly emerged in the marketplace. But he did not want any trouble. After all, if Lu Chongqing joined forces with Ancestor Yu, he would not be able to continue looting. Not bad. Quite straightforward, Lu Chongqing said as he fetched the storage bag. Glancing casually inside, he saw over 1,000 spirit stones. He thought to himself that this robber cultivator was much more decisive than the patriarch of the Yu family. Fellow Taoist, this is just a deposit. As long as you are willing to help, my Yu family will definitely reward you well. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this act, hastened to say, gritting his teeth. He too immediately took out a valuable treasure from his storage bag for Lu Chongqing. Good. I hope your Yu family's reward will not disappoint me, Lu Chongqing said as he scanned the patriarch of the Yu family with a grave voice. Without wasting any more time, his whole Bodis mana surged, his hair wildly waving in the air, as he lifted the true Yang 5 Elements sword. Do you truly intend to oppose me, fellow Taoist? The brawny man, seeing this gesture, scowled under his hat, looking rather displeased. He was not someone with a kind temper. It was just that he didn't want to be affected by Lu Chongqing and bring more trouble upon himself, which is why he voluntarily offered compensation. But Lu Chongqing's actions made him feel snubbed. Daring to threaten me? Lu Chongqing looked towards the brawny man, and with a breath, he released something. A starry ancient lamp flew out from within him. It was the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Go! Lu Chongqing did not hide his strength, pouring a vast amount of mana into the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. The lamp's flames flickered. 7 stars circled, shining brightly. Infinite sword chi spread from the lamp, exuding a sharp aura, slashing towards the brawny man. Humph! Do you really think I'm easy to bully? The brawny man, seeing this, squeezed his hands into a spell. A giant black gourd hovered above his head from which rolling black flames spread out like a black fire dragon, rushing towards the strands of sword chi. The patriarch of the Yu family, witnessing this scene, immediately showed an expression of pleasant surprise. Chapter 374. Making a move, slain with one sword. _4. Lu Chongqing acted decisively to lend his assistance. Immediately, he continued to drive the red and ice-blue crescent wheels towards the burly man. However, he did not use his full strength, still wary of Lu Chongqing. Worried that the other party was playing a double act, preparing to launch a sneak attack on him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of fierce 7 luminaries sword chi surged forth, annihilating the burly man's black fire dragon, reducing it to black smoke that scattered away. Then they continued to surge towards the burly man. Not good. The burly man sensed trouble. He saw that the other's strength and tactics were clearly superior to his own. Seeing Lu Chongqing casting sword techniques again, with the flying sword morphing into several blades, he dared not hold back either. Mana surged around his body, and a black spiritual armor emerged, wrapping around him tightly. Roar! At the same time, a terrifying roar from a fierce beast echoed. A vicious and ferocious green giant wolf could be seen rising to the skies, surrounded by wind blades sweeping across like thousands of blades, heading straight for Lu Chongqing. This green wolf was unmistakably a second-rank demon beast. A second-rank demon beast? This man actually has a second-rank spiritual pet. The patriarch of the Yu family, upon seeing the green wolf, had his pupils shrink. Only then did he realize that the other party was not only not using his full strength against him, but also had a second-rank demon beast in reserve. This sent a chill through his heart. Wuxia, upon seeing this scene, had a crescent moon will appear in her hand. Should Lu Chongqing be in danger, she was ready to take action immediately. Sword shadow dividing light technique. / However, Lu Chongqing watched the approaching green wolf with a calm expression. He formed hand seals and pointed at the 9 true yang 5 elements swords in front of him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The flying swords vibrated, their light flowing, unleashing astonishing power. Accompanied by the sound of sword cries, they abruptly struck out like raging waves, blazing flames in the sky, shooting stars chasing the moon, and thunder and lightning. Thud, thud, thud. It was over in an instant. The green wolf, which was rushing towards Lu Chongqing, suddenly stiffened, let out a mournful howl. Immediately after, multiple wounds of varying severity appeared all over its body. Dark blood spurted, splattering across the sky. And then, with a thump, it fell from the sky. The second-rank demon beast, dead. How is this possible? The burly man's face changed drastically, and his eyes nearly split open upon seeing this scene. The green wolf was but a second-rank early-stage demon beast, but it was still a second-rank demon beast, an existence on the same level as a Foundation Establishment great cultivator. Moreover, compared to Foundation Establishment cultivators, demon beasts were generally more resistant to damage and much harder to kill. But now it had been slain in one blow by someone. Such power was truly hair-raising. It wasn't just the burly man. The patriarch of the Yu family who saw this scene was also shocked, his eyes wide and heart pounding. One strike to kill a second-rank demon beast, such strength was simply astounding. He felt that if he were to face such a strike, he himself might not last many exchanges. Chongqing, not far away, Wuxia, who was ready to act at any moment, looked upon this scene, her cold, beautiful eyes gleaming brightly. She knew Lu Chongqing's strength was not simple. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to slay Meng Yibai. In her estimation, Lu Chongqing must have relied on a variety of methods and trump cards to kill Meng Yibai. Otherwise, how could Lu Chongqing, who had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, possibly slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment? But now, seeing a second-rank demon beast effortlessly slain by Lu Chongqing's sword, she felt her heart skip a beat in surprise. Realizing that Lu Chongqing was several times more powerful than she had imagined, and even more monstrously talented. Sword cultivators. How terrifying they are. Hiss, to actually slay a second-rank demon beast with a single sword strike. Rumors have it that sword cultivators are unparalleled in offense, invincible amongst their peers, and today I have finally witnessed it. Could this person be from the Heavenly Sword Sect? Many people in the distance, upon seeing this scene, gaped in astonishment and exclaimed with shock. People like those from the Red Leaf Valley Market, who usually had little chance to see Foundation Establishment great cultivators fight, had never witnessed such an incredible technique. They were so astonished they didn't know what to say, looking up at Lu Chongqing in the sky with eyes full of shock, respect, envy, and longing. Chapter 375. One sword breaks 10,000 laws. The turmoil ends. _1. Boss. Just as the green wolf was slain by Lu Chongqing, a woman dressed in a gray robe, wearing a bamboo hat, burst into the sky and arrived beside the burly man. She and her son had raided the marketplace and interfered with the formation, but she had also been keeping an eye on the situation here. Seeing her spiritual pet cut down by a single sword strike filled her with alarm. She dared not let her husband continue to face Lu Chongqing and the patriarch of the Yu family alone. Indeed, another Foundation establishment great cultivator was hidden. When the patriarch of the Yu family saw the woman, his heart skipped a beat, and his face showed solemn concern. He had speculated that there was another great cultivator skilled in formation based on the state of the great formation they had encountered earlier. Thus, he had remained vigilant throughout, lest the opponent should suddenly launch a sneak attack, leaving him no time to invoke the formation to quell the enemy. Another Foundation establishment robber cultivator. Hiss, with 2 Foundation establishment robber cultivators leading the charge. No wonder they dared to plunder the marketplace. If not for the intervention of this senior sword cultivator, tonight could have been dire. The crowd in the marketplace, witnessing the scene, were all utterly astonished. Wuxia calmly gripped her moon ring, watching the scene unfold, ready to intervene at any moment. Fellow Taoist, we admit defeat and are willing to leave as is. The burly man glanced at his wife, swallowed his anger, and with a hoarse voice, spoke to Lu Chongqing. Even though his spiritual pet had been killed and his heart was full of rage, the sword strike from Lu Chongqing just now made it clear that he was no match for Lu Chongqing. If the fight continued, the only one to suffer would be himself. He was currently wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect and had planned to make a quick score and leave. If he made too much noise or got injured, escaping Jiang country would become troublesome. Phew! The patriarch of the Yu family let out a sigh of relief upon hearing the burly man's words. Though the marketplace had suffered losses, if the situation could end like this, in his view, it was within an acceptable range. You disturb my rest, and you think to leave like this? You may go if you wish, but leave your storage bag and sever an arm. Lu Changsheng's expression was indifferent as he stood with his hands behind his back and declared. His intervention had been to take on the role of an arrogant sword cultivator. If he were to let them leave so easily, wouldn't it look as if he had no face? It would seem as though his intervention was solely to quell the disturbance in the marketplace. Upon these words, the face of the patriarch of the Yu family stiffened, and he looked at Lu Chongqing, astounded. He had not expected that when the robber cultivators were willing to back down, Lu Chongqing would refuse. But remembering the might of Lu Changsheng's sword that had killed a second-rank demon beast, his lips twitched as he wanted to speak but then hesitated, not daring to dissuade him. The burly man's face instantly darkened. Looking at Lu Chongqing, he said coldly, "Fellow Taoist, do not take things too far. Do you really think you have us completely at your mercy?" Although he admitted to himself that he was no match for Lu Chongqing, he was not afraid of him. He simply did not wish to engage in a senseless struggle. Taking things too far? Lu Chongqing, hearing this remark, scoffed. Then, with an indifferent expression and an air of arrogance, he said, "Since you do not know how to seize the opportunity when given, let's settle it under the sword then." As his words concluded, the firelight from the 7 luminaries' heart lamp above his head flickered, and countless fierce sword chi burst forth, with dozens of strands. Each strand of sword chi was comparable to a Foundation establishment strike, incredibly astonishing. Shimmering shadow condensation sword technique. At the same time, Lu Chongqing formed hand seals, and mana surged within him like mighty rivers, making the profound origin bead in his dantian churn with power. Suddenly, the buzzing 9 flying swords trembled, bathed in all kinds of radiance, bursting with blinding brightness. Thereupon, the 9 swords merged into a gigantic sword, black, white, green, red, yellow, and blue. 7 colors intermixed, spanning several zhang and radiating a terrifying presence. The burly man and the gray-robed female cultivator both showed looks of horror upon seeing this. Having struggled their way through the cultivation world, their vision was extraordinary. They recognized at a glance that Lu Changsheng's technique was powerful. They couldn't comprehend how such a formidable sword cultivator could exist in the small Red Leaf Valley market. Even the Heavenly Sword Sect disciples who had pursued them before were not this fearsome. Seeing the overwhelming sword chi already on them, the two had no time to think more and acted without hesitation. The burly man took out a white bone crossbow bolt, spat a mouthful of blood onto it, turning it blood-red and surging with a deadly aura, and shot it piercing through the air towards Lu Chongqing. Pift, pift, pift. The blood-imbued white bone arrow was exceedingly sharp, blood runes swirling around it, tearing through the strands of 7 luminaries' sword chi. The gray-robed female cultivator, facing the 7-colored giant sword above, brought out a gleaming yellow ancient mirror. The ancient mirror rose in the air, becoming a bright moon under the night sky, shining with dazzling brilliance. Then it formed layer upon layer of golden light shields, akin to the great sun golden bell, enveloping and defending both of them. Slash! At that moment, Lu Chongqing completed his sword technique, pointing indifferently towards the 7-colored giant sword from above. Boom! The giant sword slashed down from the sky. This one strike seemed as if it could cleave heaven and earth, blazing brightly in the night, causing everyone in the marketplace to watch this earth-shattering swordplay. Clang! The sword chi tore through the air, like a fierce storm, and the blood-stained white bone arrow wailed, trembling continuously, as the blood runes on it dissipated at a visible rate, plummeting from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Then the giant sword crashed onto the shield resembling the great sun golden bell, causing deafening noises to reverberate. Under this one strike, the golden great bell showed dense, web-like cracks, as the floating yellow ancient mirror above shuddered continuously, its light dimming. The 7-colored giant sword vibrated violently, its power spreading, continuing to slash down with mana like raging waves, fierce and domineering, as if to split both shield and persons alike. Not good. This person is not only a sword cultivator but also a battle-hardened one among them, his combat strength as sharp as Foundation Establishment late stage. Chapter 376. One sword breaks 10,000 laws. The turmoil ends. With one stroke of the sword, the gray-robed female cultivator's face turned pale, sensing that even her golden light mirror might be shattered directly. Her hands continually formed seals, a surge of mana pouring into the golden light mirror, forcibly sustaining it. At the same time, she looked at Lu Chongqing, shouting loudly, "Fellow Taoist, please stop. We have offended you tonight, for which my husband and I are wrong. We are willing to offer an apology." An apology? Do you think you can start and stop fighting whenever you wish? Lu Chongqing said coldly, clapping his hands together fiercely. The 7-colored giant sword emitted a thunderous rumbling, the force of its descent growing even more terrifying. Rumble! A huge explosion sounded. Although the ancient mirror emitted intense golden light, solidifying the golden bell, it let out a piteous cry under this fierce attack. Not only did the golden bell explode with a bang, shattering into pieces, but the surface of the mirror also cracked. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! The dreadful mana aftershock swept through the surroundings, lifting layers of airwaves and causing nearby shops and houses to collapse, teetering on the brink of destruction. Such might from a single sword! It's terrifying. The patriarch of the Yu family immediately churned his mana, his robe fluttering, forming a shield of air to nullify the shockwaves, his heart shocked by the immense power of this one strike. Eft! The ancient mirror shattered, the golden bell broke, making the gray-robed female cultivator's face turn ghastly pale, her figure unstable, as she fiercely spat out a mouthful of vital blood. This vital blood flew straight toward the ancient mirror, making it instantly burst forth with light again, projecting a golden barrier to block the incoming giant sword. Damn! How could there be such an entity in a newly established marketplace? At this moment, the burly man also turned pale, looking extremely ugly. He knew he had underestimated his opponent. The Lu Chongqing before him was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Run! He took out a second-rank supreme talisman, a fire dragon talisman, from his storage bag, activated it against Lu Chongqing, and then, together with his wife, they transformed into an escape light and hurriedly fled for their lives. Slice! Lu Chongqing looked at the roaring second-rank fire dragon talisman and coldly shouted. Plop! A crisp sound rang out. The seven-colored giant sword directly shattered the assault from the second-rank talisman, which was on par with the pinnacle strike of a Foundation establishment cultivator. Unabated, its sword might continued charging towards the burly man. Sensing the sword chi breaking through the air behind him, the burly man had no choice but to take out numerous second-rank supreme defense talismans, activating them for use. The talismans formed a thick light barrier, guarding the husband and wife. Hiss, so strong. This is too powerful. Facing two robber cultivators alone and making them utterly unable to fight back. If there was only one robber cultivator, I'm afraid they would be slain by a single sword just like the second-rank demon beast earlier. Is this what it means to be a sword cultivator? Sword cultivators. A single sword to break all spells. Absolutely terrifying. The crowd watching the battle from the marketplace were all astonished. All sorts of techniques and divine skills, all cleaved apart by one sword, simple and brutal. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this scene, felt his throat dry and his mental spirit tremble. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, he was more keenly aware of the terrifying nature of Lu Changsheng's assault than the other people in the marketplace. He felt that if it were him facing such an offense, he would likely be wiped out by a single sword strike. Seeing the two robber cultivators trying to run away, he didn't stay to watch the spectacle any longer. He immediately took action, sealing off their path ahead. Now Lu Chongqing clearly wanted to kill the two of them, and if they were allowed to escape and Lu Chongqing blamed him, that would be terrible. Not far away, Wuxia watched this scene, looking at Lu Chongqing in the sky, her beautiful eyes conveying admiration. She had been worried that Lu Chongqing might be in danger facing two alone. But seeing the battle unfold, she knew her worries were completely unnecessary. The combat strength displayed by Lu Chongqing now was comparable to that of a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Seeing the person she adored being so outstanding, she was overjoyed and excited, her eyes sparkling with delight. Damn it, are you truly intent on showing no mercy, not giving my husband and I a way to survive? Faced with Lu Changsheng's assault, the burly man and gray-robed female cultivator, already at a disadvantage and only able to flee, now had their escape route sealed by the spiritual artifact of the patriarch of the Yu family, suddenly spoke with grim faces. Both of their hands produced several talismans and one heavenly thunder pearl. As robber cultivators who had wandered far and caused trouble to be pursued by the heavenly sword sect, naturally, they had various means at their disposal. Now, trapped in a desperate situation, they no longer held back. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing the talismans and heavenly thunder pearl in their hands, showed a look of wariness in his eyes. A Foundation establishment great cultivator might not fear the heavenly thunder pearl, able to dodge its explosive force. But so many talismans combined with the heavenly thunder pearl could still pose a danger if he was not careful. To think you still dare threaten me at the brink of death? Lu Chongqing, garbed in his mystic robe, his hair dancing wildly, said with a sneer, exuding a disdainful and lofty air. Slice! His seven luminaries' heart lamp above his head, his hands forming seals, he pointed towards the seven-colored giant sword, continuing his assault on the two of them. Boom, boom, boom! Ancient patterns swirled atop the seven-colored giant sword, with an awe-inspiring dominance. In Lu Changsheng's hands, the true Yang five-element swords might seem to explode to its utmost limit. Husband, there is a weak point in the Great Formation 90 degrees to the front. Use the heavenly thunder pearl to break through the formation and take Yuer away from here. The gray-robed female cultivator, her face deathly pale, knew that if they didn't pay a price now, they might both die right here. As she spoke, she forcibly stimulated the cracked ancient mirror to form a golden light screen. At the same time, she slapped her storage bag and a blue pearl flew out, shining brilliantly, creating layers of water screens. Damn it! The burly man's expression was dark and grim, somewhat ferocious. Chapter 377. One sword breaks 10,000 laws. The turmoil ends. I never expected that after all these years, having escaped the pursuit and killing of the Heavenly Sword sect, I would actually stumble here. But I also know that now there is only one choice. As long as I break through the marketplace blockade, I have an escape secret technique, and there's hope for survival. Otherwise, even if I fight desperately with Lu Chongqing, we're both headed down a path of certain death. At once, the burly man activated several talismans. Next, holding a red long knife, he broke through the offensive of the patriarch of the Yu family and hurled a heavenly thunder pearl toward the weak point of the formation, aiming to blast a hole into it and seize the chance to escape. Boom, boom, boom. The heavenly thunder pearl landed at the weak point of the formation, causing deafening and continuous explosions. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, Lu Changsheng's seven-colored giant sword slashed down like a tsunami, breaking through layers of defenses cast by the gray-robed female cultivator. Up against such an assault, the gray-robed female cultivator had long been unable to hold on. Her face completely bloodless, her body swaying, clearly at her limit. Ha! The heartfelt bond between the husband and wife indeed made Lu Chongqing feel quite emotional. But he showed no mercy. With a low shout, the seven luminaries' heart lamp above his head burst forth with blindingly brilliant light. The central lamp flickered, as countless sword chi poised and ready to strike erupted violently at that moment. Wish, wish, wish. The sword chi was like the wind, and the murderous intent was like a tide. Each strand of sword chi contained a peerless killing intent, capable of taking lives. At that moment, when hundreds of strands of sword chi were unleashed together, their power was incredibly formidable, so much so that even an average Foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator would struggle to defend. Thump, thump, thump. Under the onslaught of the seven-colored giant sword's attack, the already faltering gray-robed female cultivator faced this tumultuous sword chi, and instantly all her defenses were shattered, her body pierced, and blood sprayed out. The golden light mirror overhead, showing cracks, dimmed completely upon losing its master and fell from the sky. The tide-like deadly sword chi continued to target the burly man. Fellow Taoist, spare my life. Am willing to sever my arm and hand over the storage bag. Seeing his wife dead, the burly man in gray robes lost all his previous domineering demeanor, his expression filled with utmost panic. His black spirit armor pulsated, forming a black membrane barely resisting the sharp sword chi, as he cried out loudly. Without waiting for Lu Changsheng's response, he directly took up his magic artifact, and with a swift movement, severed his own arm. Chop! But Lu Chongqing was indifferent to this spectacle, as the seven-colored giant sword continued its relentless assault. Bang! The burly man's severed arm suddenly exploded at that very moment, turning into a splatter of blood that enveloped his body and propelled him away at high speed. He fled through the hole created by the large explosion at the weak point of the formation. He wasn't foolish. He knew that pleading to Lu Chongqing wouldn't spare his life. Therefore, through the pretense of pleading for mercy by severing an arm, he actually performed a blood escape secret technique. Where do you think you're going? The patriarch of the Yu family, who had been watching the battle, immediately took action upon witnessing the scene. The red-yellow disc and the ice-blue crescent flew out simultaneously, blocking the hole at the formation's weak point. He had been prepared to intervene throughout the ordeal, fearing that the burly man would escape. Leaving aside whether Lu Chongqing would blame him, the current situation was such that if the burly man were to escape, he would surely come back to seek revenge on Red Leaf Valley Market, taking vengeance on their four great families. Being targeted by a Foundation establishment great cultivator looking for an opportunity for revenge would leave any family restless. Just as the patriarch of the Yu family's spiritual artifacts obstructed the burly man, endless seven luminaries' sword chi surged toward him, sealing him off from all directions. Then, the seven-colored giant sword instantly chopped down, cleaving him in two as if sundering heaven and earth, with blood spattering everywhere. Dead. 2 foundation establishment cultivators have fallen. Sword cultivators, they are simply 2. It's finally over. Everyone watching this scene found themselves at a loss for words. This battle was like a one-sided crush. Lu Chongqing acted, and it was always with a single slash. The 2 foundation establishment robber cultivators faced that slash, yet could only continuously defend and parry, their every move shattered by that one slash. The robber cultivators who had caused chaos before, the loose cultivators who had turned themselves into robber cultivators, went pale when they witnessed this scene. Knowing that the turmoil was now suppressed, they would next face the reckoning of the Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 great families. Father, mother! A young man in gray robes saw this and his eyes turned bloodshot, filled with immense grief. He hadn't expected that his parents would both fall here. Father, mother, if you hadn't been trying to gather foundation establishment resources for your child, you wouldn't have had to rob the marketplace and die here. Rest assured, your child will definitely succeed in achieving foundation establishment and will seek revenge for you. The young man in gray robes took a deep look at Lu Chongqing and the patriarch of the Yu family in the distance, hatred filling his eyes. He then quickly found an empty alley and changed his disguise. Having spent so many years adventuring with his parents, committing numerous acts of murder and arson, he knew that now, with the market's unrest suppressed, the law enforcement cultivators of the 4 great families would begin to settle accounts with the robber cultivators, and he had to hide well to survive this purge. Humph! To disturb my rest and dare to threaten me? Lu Chongqing sneered coldly, arrogant and domineering. As he spoke, he reached out his large hand and collected the bodies of the burly man and gray-robed woman, their storage bags and magic artifacts, pocketing them all. Afterward, he turned to look at the patriarch of the Yu family nearby. He considered whether to kill the patriarch of the Yu family. After all, the relationship between the Yu family and the Lu family had never been good, and he also had an old grudge with the Yu family. If he were to eliminate the patriarch of the Yu family, it would also remove a major enemy of the Lu family. Thank you for your help, Senior. Chapter 378. One sword breaks 10,000 laws. The turmoil ends. _4. The elder of the Yu family, seeing Lu Chongqing looking at him and sizing him up, immediately felt panic rise in his heart and spoke with horror and trepidation. His form of address changed from the originally used fellow Taoist to senior. After all, in such circumstances, he truly dared not consider himself equal to Lu Chongqing. Didn't you say that there would be a substantial gift for me afterwards if I took action? Now that I have eliminated 2 robber cultivators for your market, the substantial gift should be presented, right? Lu Chongqing thought for a moment and dismissed the idea of slaying the patriarch of the Yu family. One reason was that killing him would lead to chaos in the market. Moreover, the 4 major families, aside from the Yu family that had 2 foundation establishment great cultivators able to station one at the Red Leaf Valley Market, the other families didn't have any spare foundation establishment cultivators. If he were to kill the Yu family elder in front of him, the patriarchs of the 4 major families would probably have to rotate to oversee the market, which would also affect the Lu family. Furthermore, with his current strength, he did not fear whatever the Yu family might do. When the time came to settle scores, whether they had this Yu family elder or not wouldn't make much of a difference to him. Yes, that's only natural, the patriarch of the Yu family said with a sigh of relief in his heart upon hearing Lu Chongqing talk this way, and hurriedly added, knowing that the other party wouldn't act against him. But hearing Lu Chongqing mention the substantial gift, he felt somewhat distressed and apprehensive. He didn't know how much of a substantial gift would be sufficient to satisfy the menacing figure before him. Senior, please wait a moment. I will prepare your gift right away, the Yu family elder said through gritted teeth. He knew that a heavy loss was inevitable. If worst came to worst, he could have the 4 major families chip in for this expense later on. You have a quarter of an hour. They'll give you 15 minutes. During this time, they'll keep an eye on the robber cultivators in the market for you, said Lu Chongqing indifferently. Yes, thank you, Senior. Please wait a moment, Yu Yuanshan replied, not daring to delay. He immediately transformed into a streak of escape light and departed to return to his cave dwelling and shop to prepare the substantial gift. In the meantime, Lu Chongqing had also moved to another location where he took out his spiritual pet bag and collected the carcass of the green wolf, a second-rank demon beast he had just slain. A demon beast's body was a treasure trove. It could be used not only in talisman making and alchemy, and for forging magic artifacts, but also its tendons and bones could serve as the main body for constructing beast-shaped puppets. Such a second-rank demon beast, even just selling its materials, could fetch several thousand spirit stones, and he naturally wouldn't waste it. Shiyu, you go back first. After finishing all this, Lu Chongqing transmitted his divine sense to Wuxia, telling her to return to the cave dwelling to rest in peace. Immediately, he stood beneath the 7 luminaries' heart lamp with his arms crossed and patrolled above the marketplace. Whenever he detected the scent of blood or hidden robber cultivators, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp would shed strands of sword qi, bringing their lives to an end. In a short while, Lu Chongqing had slain 8 robber cultivators, gaining a modest harvest. Senior, this is the gift prepared by our marketplace for you, a modest token of our regard. Please accept it. By this time, the Yu family elder had returned, offering up 3 storage bags. Lu Chongqing took the storage bags and glanced inside. The first storage bag contained spirit stones, approximately 10,000 of them. The second storage bag held various items such as talismans, elixir medicines, and assorted spiritual materials. In the third storage bag, there were several glazed porcelain vases and embroidered boxes, which held relatively precious and rare elixir medicines and treasures. Lu Chongqing estimated the total value to be about 30,000 spirit stones. The amount of spirit stones was not considered a lot, but for the financial situation of the Yu family, it was already a very sincere gesture. All right, I accept your gesture. Farewell. Lu Chongqing nodded and, without saying much more, transformed into a streak of light, arriving at the place where the burly man had fallen. He struck at the weakest point of the formation with a sword, creating a crack, then left the market and disappeared into the night. Phew! Seeing Lu Chongqing depart, the elder Yu released a deep breath of relief. Although the presence of such a great cultivator made the market much safer, Lu Chongqing's recent demonstration made him appear as a harbinger of death in the elder's eyes, someone he truly didn't dare get too close to. Afterward, he commanded the market enforcement team. Now, everyone secure the market and start patrolling for robber cultivators and assessing the losses from just now. Chapter 379. The Shock of the 4 Patriarchs. _1. Lu Chongqing left the Red Leaf Valley Market and upon seeing no one around, immediately disguised himself, concealing his magic aura entirely. He then took out a second-rank Qi Sealing Talisman and a Stealth Talisman from his storage bag and used them on himself. Of course, he couldn't actually leave. Now that the disturbance in the marketplace had ended, Lu Miaoge, not having seen him, would surely be worried. Moreover, the 4 great families would definitely be inspecting the marketplace next. If he wasn't around, unnecessary trouble might arise. As expected, it hasn't recovered so quickly. Lu Chongqing quickly returned to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Seeing the huge crack he had previously cut at the weak point of the market's great formation still there, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had deliberately made that slash before as a makeshift exit for himself to use upon returning. Within the crack, 2 energy refinement late-stage cultivators could be seen standing guard. But he, a Foundation Establishment great cultivator, had not only concealed his aura but also had a second-rank Qi Sealing Talisman and a Stealth Talisman, so naturally he wouldn't be noticed. Lu Chongqing silently slipped back into the marketplace. Afterwards, he found a secluded alley, tied up his loosened hair, changed back into his blue magical robe, and restored his handsome and imposing true appearance. Is this a failed Foundation Establishment attempt? Lu Chongqing walked out of the alley and headed towards the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Looking up at the sky, he saw the vortex of nature's spiritual energy above the core cave dwelling area slowly dissipating. This situation indicated a failed foundation establishment attempt. Indeed, with such a commotion just now at the marketplace and the Great Formation operating at full capacity, not only did it cause a disorder in nature's spiritual energy, but it also greatly affected the mindset of those attempting foundation establishment. The transformation of spiritual liquid into mana, supporting the Tao Foundation, cannot tolerate distractions. A single mishap can lead to failure in foundation establishment. With such a huge commotion in the marketplace just now, how could they not be affected? Lu Chongqing shook his head. Knowing that the person had not taken a foundation establishment elixir, now that foundation establishment had failed, if they didn't die, they still would be abolished. Even if they took a meridian-protecting elixir to protect the meridians in Dantian, reducing the risk of death, they still had to face the situation of damaged meridians in Dantian, with cultivation levels rolling back. If there was no great opportunity, it would be almost impossible for them to break through foundation establishment again in this lifetime. It's said that this person has a 4th-grade spiritual root and is only 49 years old. Among loose cultivators, they were in the prime of life. Now that foundation establishment has failed and all savings are spent, even if they don't die, the rest of their life will be very difficult. Lu Chongqing slightly shook his head, feeling somewhat emotional inside. Most loose cultivators trying to break through to foundation establishment were not only risking their lives, they were also staking all their lifelong savings on it. Uncle Yuan Shan. At that moment, Lu Chongqing saw several law enforcement cultivators coming towards him. The man leading them was a one-armed, dignified man with a weathered face. He was one of the core members of the Lu family, Lu Yuanshan. Although he had lost an arm, his energy refinement 9th level cultivation was still formidable. He was positioned in the Red Leaf Valley market by the Lu family to serve as the law enforcement leader. Chongqing, what are you doing here? Upon seeing Lu Chongqing, Lu Yuanshan gave him a few glances and then asked. Earlier, when the marketplace was in turmoil after Miaoga and I checked our own talisman shop, I was about to go and see the situation at my own spiritual talisman shop. Just as I left, a fight broke out involving foundation establishment cultivators, so I had to hide on the side, and only now do I dare to come out. Lu Chongqing spoke. How could Miaoga let you go check the situation by yourself? Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanshan frowned and said, the recent situation was very dangerous in his view. As the leading talisman path expert of the Lu family with only 7th level energy refinement cultivation, how could Lu Miaoga let Lu Chongqing wander around under such circumstances? Any mishap would be a tremendous loss for their Lu family. In his view, it was simply too reckless. It was an emergency at that time, and besides, I had talismans with me. As long as I didn't encounter any foundation establishment cultivators, there basically wouldn't be any problems, Lu Chongqing said somewhat sheepishly. The Lu family might not reprimand him, but chances are they might still address the matter with Lu Miaoga afterwards. Although it's safe now, there might still be robber cultivators hidden in the shadows. Come with me and I'll escort you back first, Lu Yuanshan continued. He didn't doubt or check on Lu Chongqing. After all, they were family, and he knew him through and through. Furthermore, with Lu Chongqing's appearance and demeanor, he didn't believe that he could be someone else in disguise. Thank you, Uncle Yuanshan. Lu Chongqing nodded. Then, Lu Yuanshan, accompanied by a few law enforcement cultivators, escorted Lu Chongqing back to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Chongqing, Uncle Yuanshan. Lu Miaoga was at the first floor of the talisman shop waiting. Seeing them approaching, she immediately opened the formation. Miaoga, how could you let Chongqing check the situation by himself? You saw the commotion in the marketplace just now. What if he had an accident with a robber cultivator? Lu Yuanshan said with a stern voice upon seeing Lu Miaoga. The tone in his voice carried a note of reprimand. Though Lu Miaoga was an energy refinement 9th level cultivator and a talisman master herself, she was nonetheless the junior he had watched grow up, so such a reprimand was within reason. Uncle Yuanshan, it's my fault, too. Sister Miaoga told me not to go, but I thought with talismans at my side, there would be no issues. Lu Chongqing, expecting Lu Yuanshan to admonish Lu Miaoga after the fact, was surprised when Lu Yuanshan began to reproach her upon meeting. Knowing Lu Yuanshan's concerns were well-intended, he immediately spoke up to smooth things over, taking some of the blame. "All right, I won't say more. You two stay put in the shop tonight, and if there's trouble, send me a message." Lu Yuanshan's expression remained austere as he spoke, gesturing with his hand, and proceeded with his patrol. "Yes, Uncle Yuanshan. Uncle Yuanshan, please take care." Chapter 380. The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge nodded. "Chongqing, are you all right?" Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Chongqing, her beautiful eyes filled with concern. She thought that Lu Yuanshan had brought Lu Chongqing back because he had encountered some danger. "I'm fine. I just ran into Uncle Yuanshan on the way. He saw I was alone and worried for my safety, so he offered to escort me back." Lu Chongqing gently shook his head, offering a wry smile. Uncle Yuanshan is always stern and rarely smiles. "But he means well," Lu Miaoge spoke out. She had a great deal of respect for Lu Yuanshan. If it weren't for Lu Yuanshan bringing back the main ingredient for the Foundation Establishment elixir from the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, Lu Yuanzhong might not have succeeded in his Foundation establishment. One could say that Lu Yuanshan had indirectly saved Qingzhou Mountain. "I know." Lu Chongqing nodded his head. He had had several encounters with Lu Yuanshan and knew of the man's character, which was actually quite decent. "Chongqing, did you see the Foundation Establishment battle just now?" After sitting down, Lu Miaoge and Lu Chongqing started to chat casually. She had just seen the images of Lu Chongqing fighting the two robber cultivators at the spiritual talisman shop. Though the view wasn't very clear, she was able to get a general idea. "Of course I saw it. I was actually quite close to the location at the time. I never imagined there would be such a formidable sword cultivator living right here in the marketplace." Lu Chongqing clicked his tongue in admiration. Indeed, two Foundation Establishment robber cultivators and a second-rank demon beast. If it weren't for that sword cultivator, the marketplace would have been in danger. "I've heard that although sword cultivators are unmatched in combat, they are only invincible among their peers. This sword cultivator, slaying a second-rank demon beast with a single stroke and cutting down two Foundation Establishment robber cultivators by himself, must be no ordinary sword cultivator. I wonder if he could be from the Heavenly Sword Sect," Lu Miaoge said somewhat wistfully. "The Heavenly Sword Sect is the largest immortal sect in Jiang Country. All the cultivators from this sect are sword cultivators. So generally, when people mention powerful sword cultivators, most would think of the Heavenly Sword Sect. It's possible, although the Heavenly Sword Sect is quite far from here. It could also be a loose cultivator wandering through the mortal world. Don't the stories often write about sword immortals who travel the world, slaying demons and exorcising evil?" Lu Chongqing said with a laugh. After chatting for a while, Lu Chongqing turned to Lu Miaoge and asked, "Sister Miaoge, do you want to become a sword cultivator?" He knew that the cultivation technique Lu Miaoge was practicing was called profound water art, which is a high-grade cultivation technique. The magic barrier during the foundation establishment of a cultivator is related to the cultivator's technique. The more formidable the cultivation technique, the more robust the mana, making this barrier easier to breach and the transformation of spiritual power into mana simpler. While a high-grade cultivation technique won't hold one back, it doesn't provide much assistance either. Now that he had successfully established his foundation and possessed some strength, he didn't mind passing on the Saturn Solar Sword technique from the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture to Lu Miaoge. The Saturn Solar Sword technique, though just an exquisite level cultivation method, being a lineage of the orthodox level Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture, is considered one of the top methods among the exquisite level. It offers some help during the magic barrier of foundation establishment. Moreover, as Lu Miaoge's profound water art would need a follow-up technique after reaching the foundation establishment stage, adopting the Saturn Solar Sword technique now would mean she wouldn't have to worry about subsequent techniques. While sword cultivators are formidable, I am not fond of conflicts, so I haven't really considered becoming a sword cultivator, Lu Miaoge said gently, her demeanor as calm as water. Although sword cultivators possess overwhelming combat strength and excel in offense, certain qualities and a specific style are required. They demand a resolute and unwavering spirit. If one's temperament is weak, even with the practice of sword techniques, their combat effectiveness will be mediocre at best. Sister Miauga, you probably noticed that the cultivation technique I practice isn't greenwood art. Actually, I acquired a sword technique in a fortuitous secret realm, and what I've been cultivating is that sword technique. Lu Chongqing continued to talk to Lu Miauga. The combat power he demonstrated previously, instantly subduing several robber cultivators, was clearly beyond what one would expect from practicing greenwood art. Greenwood art is more geared towards health and vitality, with average combat capabilities. A sword technique? Lu Miauga was a bit surprised but felt it made sense. After all, the combat strength Lu Chongqing had exhibited was quite extraordinary, beyond that of ordinary people. Her stunning face smiled warmly as she said, "I never imagined my husband would also be a sword cultivator. Chongqing, your decisive manner along the way showed hints of a sword immortal's grace. Maybe in the future you could be like that sword cultivator just now." Lu Miaoge's eyes were filled with love, admiration, and doting as she spoke, her gaze stirring the heart. This sword technique belongs to the exquisite level. If you need it, Sister Miauga, I can pass it on to you. Cultivating this technique could help you when you attempt foundation establishment later on, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. While it's true that sword cultivators have specific temperamental styles, it's not to say one couldn't cultivate them if they don't fit perfectly. It's just a matter of how potent it will be. Cultivating the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, even if not quite suited, would still be better than ordinary high-grade cultivation techniques. An exquisite level cultivation method. Lu Miauga gasped, visibly surprised. She was well aware of the preciousness of an exquisite level cultivation method. At Qingzhou Mountain, they only possessed a few high-grade cultivation techniques. Even these few techniques had cost the Lu family a great deal and much effort to obtain. After all, in the cultivation world, very few are willing to externalize and divulge their family's techniques. Now that Lu Chongqing was casually offering to pass on an exquisite level cultivation method to her, she felt moved. Sadly, after looking through that technique just once, the inheriting jade slip self-destructed. Chapter 381. The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. So I'll come to teach you myself later. Lu Chongqing didn't wait for Lu Miauga to reply and continued speaking. He didn't carry any jade slips or jade scrolls containing sword technique cultivation techniques on his person. Ordinary cultivation techniques and spells are quite easy to copy and replicate. But high-grade cultivation techniques and spells are not so easily copied. Not only must one have an expert grasp of the cultivation techniques, one must also expend the writer's own vital energies to inscribe them onto a technique jade slip. And normally, who would carry a copy of the cultivation techniques they're practicing on their person? Chongqing, why are you so good to me? Lu Miauga looked up at the Lu Chongqing before her, her beautiful eyes full of tenderness as she softly spoke. You're my wife. If I'm not good to you, to whom should I be? Lu Chongqing looked at his wife and laughed with a smile. Thank you, Chongqing. Lu Miaoge's eyes glistened, and she smiled tenderly. We are husband and wife, one entity. There's no need for thanks. Lu Chongqing waved his hand and said, Lu Miauga gently hummed in affirmation and then quietly snuggled into her husband's arms. Time passed by slowly. At this moment, Lu Yuanzhong, the Bai family ancestor, the patriarch of Zheng family, and patriarch Yu Jinyang of the Yu family had all hurriedly arrived at Red Leaf Valley Market. The commotion earlier caused Yu Yuanshan to send the highest level of emergency message. Faced with such a message, the ancestors of the four major families did not dare delay. They ordered their families to activate their defensive formations and quickly came over. Yuanshan, what's the situation here? Patriarch Yu Jinyang asked aloud. This patriarch of the Yu family had a full head of white hair, but not a single wrinkle or age spot on his face. His skin as clear and glossy as a baby's, perfectly exemplifying the phrase old in years, youthful in looks. As Patriarch Yu Jinyang spoke, Lu Yuanzhong, the Bai family ancestor, and the patriarch of the Zheng family all turned to Yu Yuanshan, wanting to know the specifics of what had happened in the market. Although they arrived one after another, Yu Yuanshan indicated that the situation in the market had stabilized, so he waited for everyone to gather before explaining. Patriarch, fellow Taoists. Upon hearing Patriarch Yu Jinyang's words, Yu Yuanshan immediately recounted what had happened in the market earlier. What? 2 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators. An extraordinary sword cultivator, who slew a second-rank demon beast with a single sword strike, and this sword cultivator killed both robber cultivators. Upon hearing this, the 4 of them exchanged astonished glances, their faces revealing shock and disbelief. After all, these were Foundation Establishment great cultivators, beings on the same level as them. And now, Yu Yuanshan was telling them that tonight, 2 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators had raided the market. Then, suddenly, an extraordinary sword cultivator appeared and slew both robber cultivators. If not for the current state of the market's great formation being weakened, allowing them to see that the market had gone through a disturbance and knowing that Yu Yuanshan wouldn't lie to them, they would have thought they were listening to a radio drama. How could our market have such a sword cultivator? Indeed, all the Foundation Establishment cultivators who were invited to the auction left after it ended. The patriarch of the Zheng family and Bai family ancestor spoke up. This is what I recorded on the shadow retention stone. Without saying much more, Yu Yuanshan took out a fist-sized black stone. The shadow retention stone is a magic artifact refined by artifact refiners. It can record a period of images and sounds. Depending on the grade, the clarity of the images and duration vary. Its uses are wide-ranging. Many cultivators use shadow retention stones to leave their last words before they pass away. Or when selling cultivation techniques or instructing juniors, they might record their insights onto a shadow retention stone, which is often much more vivid than text alone. It can also be used for recording various scenes in daily life. The Jade Scroll of the Returning Origin technique that Lu Chongsheng cultivated initially also had a shadow retention effect. As mana was infused into the shadow retention stone, a segment of images began to emerge. It was the scene where Lu Chongsheng slew the second-rank demon beast and confronted the pair of robber cultivators. Hiss! Such a domineering sword stance. That's a true sword cultivator. Could this person be a disciple of the Heavenly Sword Sect? That's not an impossibility. But for what reason would a disciple of the Heavenly Sword Sect come to our Red Leaf Valley market? The ancestors of the 4 major families, upon watching the images on the shadow retention stone, were struck with unparalleled shock in their hearts. Although the shadow retention stone could not record the aura or presence, they could still sense an unstoppable, sword-breaking all laws, unmatched aura from Lu Chongqing through the images. Patriarch Yu Jinyang, upon observing the attire and methods of the 2 robber cultivators on the shadow retention stone, frowned slightly, falling into contemplation. But upon seeing the 2 robber cultivators being killed and their bodies taken away, a hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Patriarch, what's the matter? Yu Yuanshan, seeing his patriarch's expression, inquired. The strength, attire, and appearance of these 2 robber cultivators remind me of the male and female villains who are being pursued by the major immortal sects. Patriarch Yu Jinyang narrowed his eyes slightly as he spoke. Male and female villains. The 2 of them each possesses the strength of the middle and early stages of Foundation establishment. The couple often act together, robbing wealth and assaulting individuals with cunning and unpredictability. They have been wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect for killing an elite disciple. Come to think of it, these 2 do bear some resemblance to the male and female villains. Once Patriarch Yu Jinyang said this, even the Bai family ancestor began to express his doubt as he looked at the images on the shadow retention stone. Male and female villains, wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect? If that's the case, then this sword cultivator must be a disciple of the Heavenly Sword Sect, tracking them to this place. Indeed, otherwise, How could there be such a coincidence of having an extraordinary sword cultivator in our Red Leaf Valley market? Aside from the Heavenly Sword Sect, where else could you find such a dominant sword cultivator? Upon hearing this, the others felt relieved, believing that things must be as they surmised. Chapter 382. The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. For otherwise, how could there have been such a coincidence? Although stories of eminent figures hiding in the market were common, after all, they were just stories and rare ones. Yuan Shan, you just said that you presented a gift to that sword cultivator. How much was it worth in spirit stones? At this moment, Patriarch Yu Jinyang turned to Ancestor Yu and spoke. Upon hearing these words, Lu Yuanzhong, by family ancestor, and Zheng family ancestor all felt a pang in their hearts. Ancestor, a total of 30,000 spirit stones. Given the situation at the time, how could I dare to give less? Thus, I brought out all the spirit stones I could, along with all the stock from the store. Yu Yuanshan said with a bitter smile. He then looked at the three family ancestors. Regarding the gift, I can provide a detailed list and swear on my heart demon that there has been absolutely no deceit. 30,000 spirit stones was not a small amount. He merely intended for it to be split equally among the four families. He wouldn't risk making enemies of the three families for the sake of extorting spirit stones. Fellow Taoists, as our four families jointly manage the marketplace, this matter of the spirit stones surely shouldn't fall on my Yu family alone, should it? Patriarch Yu Jinyang looked at the three family ancestors and made himself heard. His tone carried an almost undeniable assertiveness. That's only right. We can share the cost of these spirit stones across our four families. Upon hearing this, Zheng family ancestor immediately voiced his agreement. However, his face betrayed a look of pain. Although splitting 30,000 spirit stones would mean only 7,500 per family. Even 7,500 spirit stones wasn't a small sum. While family income was higher than that of ordinary loose cultivators, so too were expenses greater. Patriarch Yu Jinyang, the robber cultivator's raid on the marketplace is likely greatly related to loose cultivator Zhaofeng's pursuit of foundation establishment. Initially, it was your Yu family who overruled all objections, allowing this Zhaofeng to attempt foundation establishment within the marketplace. Had that not been the case, perhaps there would have been no incident tonight. Lu Yuanzhong spoke up. He believed that Yu Yuanshan wouldn't resort to extorting spirit stones in this matter. But tonight, not only was the marketplace impacted, their family stores and businesses also suffered losses. And now, to take out such a large sum of spirit stones, naturally he was reluctant. Indeed, it was your Yu family's decision to allow Zhaofeng to undertake his foundation establishment within the marketplace, which led to the troubles we face tonight. Tonight, our families have already suffered great losses. Later, we will also need to soothe and compensate the merchants who set up shop here. I believe it is not proper to share this expense of the spirit stones now. I think that the Yu family should bear the brunt of the cost of these spirit stones, as well as the compensation for the merchants. By family ancestor also spoke. The raid on the marketplace tonight might not necessarily have been due to the foundation establishment attempt. So many robber cultivators, they obviously came prepared, Yu Yuanshan said, expressing his opinion. Immediately, a debate began between the two sides. Confronted with this situation, Zheng family ancestor chose to remain silent. If possible, he naturally also didn't want to share the cost of these spirit stones. Only, his Zheng family was not in a good situation and was thinking of appeasing the Yu family. The matter of Zhaofeng was indeed proposed by me, but also agreed upon by all of you. Therefore, it's impossible for my Yu family to bear the full cost of the spirit stones and compensation. Let's do this. My Yu family will cover 50% of these 30,000 spirit stones, and the remaining 50% will be shared among your three families. As for the losses in the marketplace and the merchant settlements, we will discuss that when we have a detailed list. How about that? At this point, Patriarch Yu Jinyang spoke in a deep tone. I have no objections. Zheng family ancestor immediately said. If the three families were to share 50%, it would mean 5,000 spirit stones per family. That was over 2,000 less per family, a significant saving. Agreed. Lu Yuanzhong and by family ancestor exchanged glances, nodded their heads, and decided to take the offer while it was good. After all, with the current situation, it was already not bad for the Yu family to be willing to make a concession. After the negotiation concluded, Lu Yuanzhong, by family ancestor, and Zheng family ancestor left to check on their respective family stores and personnel. Meanwhile, Yu Yuanshan was somewhat unwilling to accept the outcome as he looked at his own ancestor. Ancestor, why should we make such concessions? Even if we didn't, what could Lu Yuanzhong, by Tongyun possibly say? Yu Yuanshan spoke out. In his view, as long as their family didn't give in or make concessions, the Lu family and Bai family would have to accept the expenses of the spirit stones. After all, this concession meant an extra expenditure of 7,500 spirit stones. Their Yu family had already emptied their coffers last year to purchase the Foundation Establishment elixir and had been living frugally ever since. This significant expenditure was like adding frost to snow for an already not wealthy family. At present, there is no need for our four families to create an unnecessary rift over these spirit stones. Old Ghost Zhang may be active in his stance, but he is also reluctant to part with these spirit stones. Hence, it is not an issue to step back. Now that Ning, who has successfully established his foundation, our Yu family has 3 foundation establishment cultivators. If we slowly accumulate our strength, they will have to spit back everything they have swallowed sooner or later. Patriarch Yu Jinyang waved his hand and said firmly. Chapter 383, Three-Colored Spiritual Earth. By Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. _1 before one's eyes. 7 days had passed. During this time, the marketplace remained in a state of lockdown and alert, inspecting for robber cultivators. Lu Chongxing learned from the Lu family that the outward losses of the marketplace were not severe and were within an acceptable range. The main issue was the series of adverse effects brought about by the incident. To minimize the impact and recover popularity and reputation, the 4 major families made certain compensations for the losses suffered by the businesses settled in the market. And they issued a series of preferential and welfare policies. Taking all these aspects into account, it amounted to a huge loss. Even so, the flow of visitors to the Red Leaf Valley market would still see a significant decline. The fame and reputation built up by the previous auction would be rendered futile by this incident. TSK. It's indeed not easy to run a marketplace. A slight incident can lead to a loss. Lu Chongsheng couldn't help but lament after learning of these developments. He was well aware that over the years, the 4 major families hadn't made much money from the Red Leaf Valley market. The primary income had been from the initial sales of land. But with this incident, not only had many spirit stones been spent, but the marketplace, which had just gotten on the right track, had taken a severe fall. It would take several years, perhaps even over a decade of management, to regain popularity and get back on track. It seems that the Red Leaf Valley market won't change much in the short term. Speaking of which, if I were to reveal my strength and talk with the 4 major families, I might be able to take over the Red Leaf Valley market directly as my family spirit land. A sudden thought crossed Lu Changsheng's mind. Through the previous battle, he had clearly realized that his current strength had already far surpassed that of the patriarchs of the 4 major families. It would be incredibly easy to take a spirit land by force with his might. However, he would not engage in such reputation-damaging actions of forcefully seizing other spirit lands without good reason. But the Red Leaf Valley market, the Lu family held a 40% control. If he were to reveal his strength and cooperate with the Lu family, it would be entirely possible to take ownership of Red Leaf Valley using both carrot and stick approaches. Initially, the Lu family and the Bai family did not have the intention to establish the Red Leaf Valley into a marketplace. It was only after the Yu family and the Zheng family joined that the decision was made to maximize benefits by establishing the Red Leaf Valley into a marketplace. Thus, from the Lu family's perspective, as long as enough benefits are provided as compensation, it wouldn't be much of a problem. Lu Chongqing pondered in his heart. But there's no rush for that. Once I've accumulated a bit more foundation and my children have grown up, if we still don't have a spirit land, then it might be a viable option. Lu Chongqing shook his head lightly. Red Leaf Valley possesses a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein and several first-grade spirit veins. Its geographical location is good as well, right beside Qingzhou Mountain. In Lu Changsheng's view, it's an excellent place for a spirit land. However, he could not reveal his true strength just yet. At most, in a few years, he could disclose to the outside that he had acquired a fortuitous opportunity and had made a breakthrough in Foundation establishment. Exhibiting combat power comparable to the Foundation establishment late stage in just 15 short years would indeed be astonishing. It would most likely draw unwanted attention. Once targeted, it could be very troublesome. After all, he was not a cultivator who walked the Great Tao alone. He belonged to those with families and vulnerabilities, a cultivator with soft spots. If it was possible to be more cautious, he would opt for that route. Moreover, Lu Chongqing felt that he was still far from having the accumulation and foundation necessary to establish a family. To set up a family, it required not only a top-notch combatant and a family spirit land, but also a top-tier great formation, a complete set of family facilities and operational system, as well as a sufficient core strength and a continuous influx of new blood, among other things. Although he had 125 children, 30 of whom were spiritual root descendants, the oldest child was only 14, and the youngest was still an infant. Under such circumstances, there wasn't enough financial or human resources to support a family. Even with the help of his wives and concubines, the assistance they could provide was limited. The children still need to grow up. Without a solid base, even if outsiders are recruited, it would be very troublesome. But by the time the children are almost grown, my strength and foundation will have also improved, and by then it should be about right. Lu Chongqing exhaled slowly. He didn't mind enlisting members from outside the main lineage. After all, it was impossible to rely solely on one's own bloodline. Not every child would succeed in managing the family. That is the limitation of a family. But the core matters had to be held in the hands of his own bloodline. In this world, the cohesion of a family bloodline could not be matched by its power. Sigh, it's time to sort out the gains from this trip. Seeing that the alertness of the marketplace had relaxed and things were wrapping up, Lu Chongqing got up and headed towards the cave-dwelling area. He was preparing to go to Xiao Xie's cave-dwelling to tally up his gains, and to deal with the body of the second-rank demon beast. After all, the storage bag did not have a fresh-keeping function. If not stored in a special container, it could cause problems over time. Chongsheng. When Xiao Xie received Lu Changsheng's message, she immediately opened the restrictions of her cave-dwelling. Because there had been patrols in the marketplace these past few days, she had been disguised. However, the main inspections in the marketplace were focused on the loose cultivators' residential area and the commercial district. The cave-dwelling area was only briefly questioned, as those who resided there were either people from the 4 major families or from other cultivation families. Shi Yu, Lu Chongsheng entered the cave-dwelling. After the two of them entered the cave-dwelling, they also reverted to their true appearances. It always felt somewhat strange to look at each other in disguised forms. Lu Lang, your heroic and dashing figure that night truly amazed Shi Yu, and is unforgettable. Chapter 384. Three-Colored Spiritual Earth. By Ling's Talent. An Unexpected Lottery. Xiao Xie's countenance was radiant and entrancing, her beautiful eyes brimming with laughter as if she were a playful young girl. Seeing the usually aloof and saintly fairy exhibiting such a girlish demeanor, Lu Chongqing knew that Xiao Xie was partly teasing on purpose, but it still satisfied a part of his masculinity. After all, which man doesn't like his wives, concubines, and children to show dependence and adoration towards him? Ha ha! She wishes to see her husband's grace. How could I disappoint you? Shiyu, I must naturally put on a good performance. Lu Chongqing chuckled softly and leaned in to capture the ripe and charming lips of the fairy. A moment later, the fairy was nearly as limp as water, collapsing into Lu Changsheng's arms. Her stunningly beautiful face was flushed on both sides, like a fairy descending to the mortal world, breathtakingly vivid and irresistible. Shiyu, were you satisfied with your husband's performance that night? Today, you must satisfy your husband. Gazing at the entrancing beauty of the fairy before him, Lu Chongqing whispered into her ear. Xiao Xie naturally understood what Lu Chongqing meant. She rolled her eyes at him, gently lowered her stance, causing her 3,000 strands of hair to fall over her forehead, like dark clouds over the moon, concealing the extraordinary beauty of the fairy's face. SSSS. Lu Chongqing gently lifted a lock of Xiao Xie's hair, curled it around his finger, and playfully toyed with it. Looking at her peerless beauty, he couldn't help but recall the situation when he first met Xiao Xie. Unknowingly, the relationship between the two had reached such a stage. Afterwards, Lu Chongqing took out an elixir medicine to swallow, held 2 spirit stones in his hand, and sat down to cultivate. The next moment, a drop of liquid mana formed within his Danshan sea of qi and slowly merged into the 7-colored Dan Lake. Among all his wives and women, only Xiao Xie had the best effect when dual cultivating with him. Currently, only Xiao Xie could make him cultivate in dual without any reservations. 1 session of tender embrace technique cultivation was nearly equivalent to a month of his cultivation. And after such a long accumulation, he had condensed another drop of liquid mana. Sigh, with 15 drops of liquid mana, even at this rate, it will still take 2 to 3 years to break through to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Although this rate was already very fast, in his eyes it was still quite ordinary. Without dwelling on it too much, after Xiao Xie woke up, he told her and then took out the corpses of 2 robber cultivators and the storage bags he had harvested, and began to clean them up. In addition to the storage magic artifacts of the 2 robber cultivators, and the several storage bags, there were the 3 storage bags given by the patriarch of the Yu family, and from killing robber cultivators, he had harvested more than 10 storage bags. Just these storage bags alone amounted to a significant sum of spirit stones. Indeed, robber cultivators are treasures all over. Lu Chongqing pulled several magic artifacts off the 2 people. Like foundation establishment cultivators, they usually wear magical robes, magic boots, and have a few protective magic artifacts on them. Looking at the burly man's fierce and resentful face, Lu Chongqing touched his face a little bit with his hand. Then mana surged in his palm and he tore forcefully. Rip! A mask as thin as a cicada's wings appeared. This mask is quite nice. It should be a spiritual artifact or some sort of disguise item that leaves no trace of transformation, even when its owner has died. Lu Chongqing commented with a click of his tongue while observing the mask in his hand. Being a robber cultivator and having a disguise was quite normal. But had he not inspected them routinely, he wouldn't have noticed any traces of disguise. Chongqing, I think I've seen this man on the sex wanted list. He seems to be a wanted fugitive, said Xiao Xie, frowning slightly as she looked at the burly man's true face and spoke. A wanted fugitive? Lu Chongqing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. In the cultivation world where the law of the jungle prevails, there are no rules. However, the major immortal sects still maintain order. If someone causes trouble and offends the major immortal sects, they would be labeled as heretic cultivators and be wanted by the immortal sects. If I remember correctly, this couple should be the malevolent duo, heretic cultivators wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect because they killed disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect, Xiao Xie said. The wanted lists from the major immortal sects are all shared with each other. When Xiao Xie left the Qingyun sect, they also asked her to remember these wanted criminals. Not to have their disciples chase down the fugitives, but to deal with them if encountered to uphold the majesty of the sect. If they couldn't handle it, it would also inform them of the strong capabilities of their opponents, enabling them to avoid danger by staying far away. Oh, wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect, is there a bounty? Asked Lu Chongqing, smiling as he inquired. If a person was wanted by an immortal sect, there usually was quite an attractive bounty. Naturally, there's a bounty, but Shiyu doesn't remember the specifics, Xiao Xie said with a gentle shake of her head. She had only glanced at the wanted list at the time, just to get a general idea. Upon seeing the true face of the burly man, based on the couple's strength and their disguises, she recognized them. In that case, I'll just hold on to it for now. If there's an opportunity in the future, I'll go and claim that bounty, Lu Chongqing decided after some thought. He had been planning to feed the corpses to the six-winged golden silkworm. Now that there was mention of a bounty, he naturally wasn't going to waste it. He planned to make a trip whenever he had the spare time. Such robber cultivators wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect can collect their bounties in any large marketplace under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Sword Sect, said Xiao Xie. However, if Lu Lang wants to quickly receive the bounty, he'll have to go to the Heavenly Sword Sect or the Zhouxiao Immortal City, she added. Xiao Xie spoke up. Chapter 385, Three-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. Right, Shiyu, when claiming a bounty, do they need to verify identity information or anything? Lu Chongqing nodded and continued to ask. Usually not. There are many bounty hunters in the cultivation world, and they make their living by capturing heretic cultivators with bounties on their heads. They prefer to keep their identities secret. Therefore, the major immortal sects don't require identity verification as long as you have the head or a token of the deceased. They generally want to investigate your identity. Xiao Xie shook her head and explained. Got it. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing felt reassured. If identity verification were required, he would have simply given up on the bounty and not bothered with it. Suddenly, Lu Chongqing began to collect the two corpses again. He planned to buy some equipment later to store the two bodies. Otherwise, by the time he went to collect the bounty, the bodies would be rotten. What's this? Lu Chongqing started to clean out the storage bag. From the burly man's storage bag, he took out a few items that looked particularly cherished to inspect, and among them was a jar of tricolor patchy soil. The soil was not only filled with spiritual energy, but also gave off a faint fragrance. This should be tricolor spiritual earth, a pretty good foundation establishment spiritual object. If consumed during foundation establishment by those cultivating earth attribute techniques, it can help with the magical barriers during the 3 stages of foundation establishment. It can also be used as medicinal mud for planting spiritual medicines and spirit plants, producing an accelerating effect on their growth. Standing to the side, Xiao Xie looked at the jar of tricolored soil and spoke out. Tricolor spiritual earth, foundation establishment spiritual object? Initially, Lu Chongqing thought that foundation establishment spiritual objects were average. However, when he heard about the medicinal mud and its accelerating effects on growth, his eyes immediately lit up. After obtaining the golden armor bean mother, he had looked into methods to accelerate its maturity and growth. After all, the growth of the golden armor bean mother was excruciatingly slow. 3 years to sprout, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to bloom, 3 years to bear fruit. A full 12-year cycle. However, upon inquiry, he found that medicinal mud and soil capable of accelerating growth are very rare and precious. Unless it's an extremely rare spiritual medicine that's difficult to cultivate, it would be better to plant in spirit-rich spiritual earth and have a specialized spirit plant cultivator tend to it carefully. Unexpectedly, today, without any effort, he had come across such spiritual objects. Not bad, good stuff. Lu Chongqing chuckled lightly and stored away the tricolor spiritual earth. He planned to use it later to cultivate the golden armor bean mother. The subsequent cleaning process didn't reveal any more high-value items that excited Lu Chongqing. Even with treasures worth over 1,000 spirit stones, they didn't impress him much. All these are magical artifacts. This must have been plunder from a magical artifact shop. I wonder whose shop they robbed. Lu Chongqing opened another storage bag. Seeing it was full of magical artifacts, he took a glance and couldn't help shaking his head. He then opened every storage bag one by one, finding them mostly filled with elixir medicines, magical artifacts, and spiritual medicines, clearly plundered goods. After half an hour, Lu Chongqing had finally cleaned out all the storage bags. 156 middle-grade spirit stones. 12,894 lower-grade spirit stones. 1 portion of tricolor spiritual earth, 1 middle-grade spiritual artifact, for lower-grade spiritual artifacts, but 3 of them were severely damaged. 4 top-grade magical artifacts, 9 high-grade magical artifacts, 29 middle-grade magical artifacts, 35 lower-grade magical artifacts, 17 bottles of yellow dragon elixir, 9 bottles of energy refining powder, condensing energy elixirs, treasures of heaven and earth. Doesn't seem too much, probably only worth around 60 or 70,000 spirit stones in total. Lu Chongqing looked over the items with a slight frown. The hall seemed large with a variety of items. But most items weren't worth much and were a hassle to deal with. Excluding the 3 storage bags given by the patriarch of the Yu family, the actual total was only about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. That's also to be expected, already being a robber cultivator and resorting to robbing the marketplace. There's a limit to how wealthy that could make one. Lu Chongqing gently shook his head, knowing not every cultivator could be wealthy. Especially those who were robber cultivators, they generally wouldn't carry a lot of spirit stones on them. Immediately, he looked at Xiao Xie and asked, "Shiyu, is there anything you fancy?" "Thank you, Lu Lang." Xiao Xie smiled lightly and didn't hesitate. She took a blue bead and a flying needle magical instrument. They were the lower-grade defensive spiritual artifact and a top-grade magical artifact of the female robber cultivator. Seeing that Xiao Xie only took 2 items, Lu Chongqing gave her some talismans as well, to keep for emergencies. After all, for him, talismans were the least valuable. Right, there's also this big fellow. Lu Chongqing asked Xiao Xie to step back a bit. He took the corpse of the green wolf out of the storage bag. "Collect." Watching the massive corpse before him, Lu Chongqing took out a magical artifact gourd and placed it to the side. Then, wielding the True Yang 5-element sword, he skillfully made incisions at several points on the green wolf, formed a spell with his hands, and collected all the blood into the gourd. This second-rank demon beast blood could not only be used to make spirit ink but also for concocting certain elixir medicines. Of course, Lu Chongqing intended to use this demon beast blood to nourish his 6-winged golden silkworm. After draining the blood, Lu Chongqing proficiently inspected the green wolf's head and abdomen. Confirming there was no demon core, he collected the corpse back into the storage bag. "Lu Lang, you also know the art of spirit slaughter?" Xiao Xie watched Lu Chongqing dissect the green wolf, collect the blood, and check for the demon core. Surprise flickered in her beautiful eyes. Just a little, Lu Chongqing chuckled and said. This technique came naturally from the 2nd-rank spirit slaughter ability he had drawn from the system. In fact, his instant killing of the green wolf was also somewhat related to the 2nd-rank spirit slaughter ability. Chapter 386, 3-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. _4 with a 2nd-rank spirit slaughterer, he could, in the face of a demon beast, discern its weak points and flaws at the first instance, enabling a more effective attack. This feeling was incredibly profound, and even Lu Chongqing himself couldn't explain it clearly. It was as if he had been slaying demon beasts for decades, his heart and blade equally cold, knowing exactly when to strike swiftly. "Lu Lang, could you be the reincarnation of some great being? Otherwise, how could you be so formidable, knowing so much?" Xiao Xie's beautiful eyes were lively as she blinked and looked at Lu Chongqing, jokingly saying, having been around Lu Chongqing for so long, and him always surprising her, made her feel that he was no ordinary person. Yet, through their long association and interaction and various behaviors, she could also tell that Lu Chongqing wasn't like some old monster reborn. "Hiss, you actually figured it out. I was once a false core master." Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat as he said with a smile. He thought to himself that, in front of Xiao Xie, he had indeed revealed a bit too much. It seemed he needed to be a little more restrained. Otherwise, such astonishing performances were indeed too shocking and hard to explain. "Wow, that's so impressive." Xiao Xie then put on an admiring look, causing Lu Chongqing to be unable to resist pinching her clear, jade-cool cheeks. He thought that if Wuxia hadn't cultivated the supreme forgetful love technique, she would probably always be this way. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month passed. During this time, Lu Chongsheng spent his days making talismans, cultivating, refining the 9 treasure jade rui, and continuously teaching Lu Miaoge the Saturn Solar Sword technique. After half a month of hands-on, detailed instructions, Lu Miaoge finally made a simple entrance into the Saturn Solar Sword technique. The next step was for her to familiarize herself with the technique and convert her cultivation of the profound water art to the Saturn Solar Sword technique. Although this process would consume some of her cultivation level and delay her progress, overall the benefits outweighed the drawbacks. Sister Miaoge, since you've grasped the Saturn Solar Sword technique, I will now head back home for a while. If you encounter any problems during your cultivation, stop and wait for me to return. Lu Chongxing said to Lu Miaoge. I understand, Chongxing. Be careful on your journey. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle and water-like demeanor. Lu Chongxing nodded and then rode the iron feather eagle back to Qingzhou Mountain. Shortly after Lu Chongxing left the marketplace, a black-robed young man about 27 or 28 years old, with an ordinary and upright face, walked out of Red Leaf Valley Market. Red Leaf Valley Market, I shall return. After leaving the Red Leaf Valley region, the black-robed young man exhaled a sigh of relief, looked back toward Red Leaf Valley, clenched his fists tightly, and a shadowy fierceness flickered in his eyes. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Chongxing, as usual, first visited Qingzhou Villa to discuss matters of his lectures with Uncle Fu. Although he had lectured many times, there were only 2 or 3 youngsters with some talent for talisman making. Given his current lack of time, Lu Chongxing didn't have the leisure to give them private lessons. He would just give them some extra attention and answer questions in class. He planned to have them apprentice at the Red Leaf Valley Market when they got older and if their parents agreed. By then, if he had time and was willing, he would provide more guidance and teaching. Moreover, if he was unavailable, Lu Miaoge could also take over. After returning home, his wives and children immediately came forward to inquire about the events at the Red Leaf Valley Market. The incident of the robber cultivator pillaging the Red Leaf Valley Market had caused quite a stir, and they all were aware of it. Though they knew Lu Chongxing was unharmed, they were very concerned about him. Soon after, Lu Chongxing also shared with them the general events of that night. His wives and concubines listened, feeling nothing but thrill and danger. A group of children heard about a foundation establishment robber cultivator causing havoc in the marketplace, and a sword cultivator stepping forward, breaking all spells with a single strike, slaying the robber cultivator, and saving the marketplace from fire and water, all showing excited expressions. After all, children of this age very much enjoyed stories of sword cultivators slaying demons and vanquishing evil. Seeing the children like this, Lu Chongxing couldn't help but smile. Afterwards, he also inquired about the current situation of the children. He learned that Lu Shenji was still at the 2nd level of qi refinement. His son, Lu Chuanjin, would start cultivating in another month. As for the little girl Bai Ling, she expressed that she would break through to the 2nd level of qi refinement in a short while. Looking at Bai Ling's timid face, waiting for praise and commendation, Lu Chongxing rubbed her little head and couldn't help but marvel at her talent. He remembered Bai Ling had started cultivating less than half a year ago. Specifically, from the time of drawing qi into her body to now, it had only been a bit more than 3 months. 3 months' time, without any elixir medicines, this progress was truly astonishing. This made him involuntarily think how great it would be if Bai Ling were his own biological daughter. In that case, his own talent would probably be at full throttle. After showing some concern and rewarding little Bai Ling, Lu Chongxing went to his backyard and dug a pit, pouring all of the 3-colored earth into it. I wonder how much this tricolor spiritual earth will help the golden armor bean mother. Looking at the golden armor bean mother that had just started to show a bit of sprouting after a year, Lu Changsheng's heart was filled with anticipation. He also mentioned to Lu Miaoyun that he had bought some spiritual earth and medicinal mud. Although Lu Miaoyun could tell that the spiritual earth and medicinal mud were extraordinary, she didn't ask much and stated that she would take care of it every day. Time flew quickly, and before he knew it, Lu Chongqing had been back at Qingzhou Mountain for over a month. During this time, aside from cultivating, making talismans, and refining the 9 treasure jade rui, he was also fathering children. With his efforts during this month, 4 maids had successfully conceived. And on this day, Lu Changsheng's 121st and 122nd children were born. Just when these children were born, a system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for the first birth of Dragon and Phoenix twins, granting you 1 lottery chance. Dragon and Phoenix twins? There's even an achievement reward for this. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose slightly as he smiled. He had known for a while that his concubine Kue Si was carrying twins. But because he had already received a reward for the first set of twins, he didn't expect much chance of getting a reward the second time and consequently had no such expectations. Unexpectedly, without any particular hopes, he received a system reward. And both of these children had spiritual roots. 1 7th grade spiritual root, 1 8th grade spiritual root. Perhaps by continuously accumulating lower grade spiritual roots, would my spiritual root also slowly progress to 4th grade? However, for fast promotion of a spiritual root, it's still necessary to rely on higher grade ones. Lu Chongqing sighed inwardly, yearning to have a child with a talent like Bai Ling's. He planned once Lu Miaoge had reached foundation establishment to have 2 more children. With both parents at foundation establishment and possessing 5th grade spiritual roots, the children born were likely to have good spiritual roots. After visiting the children, Lu Chongqing also returned to his study, preparing for the lottery. He wanted to see what this unexpected lottery chance would yield. System, draw the lottery. Lu Chongqing silently commanded in his heart. Watching the familiar lottery will emerge before his eyes. With a slight stir of his spirit, a ray of golden light whisked around rapidly on the lottery wheel. If an energy-refining cultivator consumes it, it will only backfire, damaging the body and unsettling the mental spirit. Lu Chongqing shook his head and said, if his child were able to consume it now, he naturally would be willing to give it to the child to eat. But alas, his child was still too young and couldn't consume it. Lu Chongqing walked out of the study and entered the practice room. He was ready to see the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir. As expected of a 3rd-rank elixir, it looks extraordinary, Lu Chongqing said as he poured out a Purple Mansion elixir into his palm, admiring it. The elixir was the size of a longan fruit, radiating a flowing light, with colorful purple mists swirling around it, emanating a rich medicinal fragrance that invigorated the spirit when inhaled. After swallowing the elixir, Lu Chongqing immediately felt as if his entire body was ignited, his blood boiling, spirit soul scorching hot, almost transforming into a ball of firelight. 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique. Lu Chongqing immediately closed his eyes and sat cross-legged, circulating the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art and the Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique to refine this powerful medicinal strength. Boom, boom, boom. His entire body was crystalline, shining with the luster of precious light, his blood roiling, surging and pounding within his body. Meanwhile, his mind, spirit, soul was like a ball of firelight, being scorched continuously, making him feel dizzy and his brain in chaos. Not knowing how long had passed, Lu Chongqing felt that the medicinal strength within his body had almost been refined. Phew! He opened his eyes and exhaled lightly. He felt clear-headed and bright-eyed, full of vitality and strength throughout his body. The Purple Mansion elixir is indeed worthy of being a 3rd-rank elixir, with quite fierce medicinal power. If it weren't for my cultivation of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art and the Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique, it wouldn't have been easy to assimilate the power of this elixir. Lu Chongqing muttered to himself, then proceeded to check his divine sense. He discovered that his divine sense had grown from the original 18 zhang, approximately 54 meters, to almost 33 zhang, approximately 99 meters, almost a doubling in size. Based on what he knew, the divine sense of an average Foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator was around 50 zhang, approximately 150 meters. Yet now, with just one elixir, he had already gained around 15 zhang, approximately 45 meters. This effect, this improvement, is simply astounding. If I were to consume and refine all 10 Purple Mansion elixirs, my divine sense could probably be comparable to that of the Foundation establishment late stage, Lu Chongqing said excitedly. He felt that this bottle of Purple Mansion elixir was better than the previous third-stage life-extending pill and coagulation crystal elixir he had drawn. After all, things that bring immediate improvement were the best. As for the lifespan extension pill, he was currently not lacking in lifespan. And the coagulation crystal elixir was still gathering dust in the system space, with no telling when it would come into use. Not just divine sense. My physical body has also improved. But the main effect of the Purple Mansion elixir is in strengthening divine sense, and since I practice the 100 Refinements treasure body art, my physical body is comparable to a high-grade magic artifact, so the effect is not very obvious. After refining all 10 Purple Mansion elixirs, I estimate that my 100 Refinements treasure body art could also directly break through to the 4th level. Lu Chongqing continued to assess his current physical situation. He could clearly perceive that his physical body had also received a significant enhancement, only because the Purple Mansion elixir's effects on divine sense were more prominent. While refining this elixir just now, my brain was in chaos, and I have no idea how much time has passed. No wonder they say some elixirs require protection during consumption. Something like the Purple Mansion elixir. If one were disturbed during the process, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lu Chongqing remarked and did not continue to consume any more elixirs but walked out of the practice room. Looking at the scenery outside, he realized his eyesight had significantly improved compared to before. The veins on the distant Qingzhou leaves, the ants on the ground, the insects, were all captured clearly by him. Chapter 388. Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasured jade rui. Even ordinary walls were almost transparent to his vision. Enhancing divine sense really does have many advantages. Not only for cultivation, but also for battles and many other aspects. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He knew there were many more wonders to divine sense. For example, with a stronger divine sense than others, one could easily see through their disguises and gauge their cultivation levels. After chatting with his wives and concubines, he realized he had only been in seclusion for 3 days. Hadn't been long at all. After having a meal with his wives, concubines, and children, Lu Chongqing announced his intention and began another period of secluded cultivation. He was prepared to consume all 9 remaining Purple Mansion elixirs in one go. 1 month later, inside the practice room, boom, Lu Chongqing was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, his body emanating a hazy treasured light that bestowed upon him an aura of majesty and sanctity. At this moment, his physical body was undergoing a transformation, breaking through to the 4th level of the 100 Refinements treasure body art. The surging blood qi within his body was constantly flowing, cleansing every inch of his flesh and skin. The commotion grew louder and louder, like a volcanic eruption or the roaring of rivers, and it resembled the sonorous clang of metal on metal. Boom! After who knows how long, a sharp clang resounded within Lu Chongqing's body. He seemed to break free from shackles, as a light unfurled and shone through mountains and rivers. A brilliant, dazzling radiance emanated from within him. Huff! 100 Refinements treasure body art, 4th level. The eyes of the seated Lu Chongqing suddenly snapped open, glowing with a golden treasured light. He stood up, stretching his muscles and bones, producing a crackling sound throughout his body. He quietly felt the changes in his body after the breakthrough. He just felt an inexhaustible strength filling his entire body. With the 4th level of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, my physical body is comparable to top-grade magic artifacts. Now facing ordinary energy refining cultivators, I can boldly try to catch magic artifacts with my bare hands. Lu Chongqing looked at his palms, which were like jade. They were still as white and delicate as ever, yet they exuded an unbreakable quality. Clang, clang, clang. He clenched his fists and collided them lightly, immediately producing a sound like the clash of metal, when he collided them with a bit more force. Bang! A loud sonic boom echoed in the practice room. But sometimes, having too good of a physique isn't a good thing either. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. His wives, concubines, and maids were all mortals and energy-refining cultivators. In comparison to him now, they seemed somewhat fragile, necessitating control of the impact force. My divine sense has finally reached 150 zhang. For ordinary cultivators, just after breaking through to the foundation establishment stage, divine sense is about 10 zhang, in the middle stage around 50 zhang, and in the late stage 150 zhang. Tisk, 10 purple mansion elixirs not only allowed my 100 refinements treasure body art to break through to the 4th level, but also advanced my divine sense to 150 zhang, comparable to the late foundation establishment stage. Indeed, popping pills is the true path. Reliance on sheer personal effort in cultivation, unless one has a heavenly spiritual root or an earth spirit root, would mean this would be as far as one gets in a lifetime. Lu Chongqing sighed. According to the progress in his 100 refinements treasure body art, it would have taken about 3 more years to reach the 4th level. This 3-year estimate was already accounting for the assistance of a middle-grade magic artifact and its prototype. If he were to cultivate at a normal pace, it would take 20 to 30 years. However, 10 purple mansion elixirs saved him from such arduous cultivation. As for the divine sense, the effects were even more extraordinary and stunning. If he were to cultivate step by step on his own, it would likely take 60 to 70 years to reach this level of divine sense. Now that I have divine sense at the late stage of foundation establishment, I can also start studying this divine consciousness secret technique. At this point, Lu Chongqing took out a technique jade slip from his storage bag. It was the Red Phoenix True Scripture that he had obtained from the young man in the red robe. Initially, he had only glanced at this technique. It was a technique that veered towards the heretical path. The only thing that impressed him was the divine consciousness secret technique named Soul Dispersion Needle in the Red Phoenix True Scripture. It allowed one to condense divine sense into a soul dispersion needle to launch a divine sense attack against enemies. Back then, both he and Wuxia suffered from the soul dispersion needle used by the young man in the red robe. Had it not been for his peach blossom goo guarding his sea of consciousness, the situation would have been dangerous. Now that he possessed divine sense comparable to someone in the late foundation establishment stage, he naturally planned to cultivate this secret technique. In future battles, it would serve as an unexpected and preemptive strike. Reading the cultivation method for Soul Dispersion Needle, its condensation method, and its application, Lu Chongqing spent an hour to understand the principles and steps, and then began to try cultivating it. He sat cross-legged with closed eyes, introspecting his sea of consciousness. He formed a mysterious symbol with his divine sense in the sea of consciousness, with a subtle rhythm. Then, through the symbol, he slowly condensed a red needle. Some time later, damn, is it really this hard to condense a single soul dispersion needle? Lu Chongqing opened his eyes, somewhat at a loss for words. He had made several attempts, using the power of his divine sense to condense the soul dispersion needle. But each time it failed to take shape before he could even really get started. It was entirely a case of I understand the principle and every step, but I just can't do it. This secret technique is many times more difficult than the flame bullet technique, the spiritual eye technique, or the aura concealment technique I learned before. It's going to be very hard to get the hang of it by figuring it out on my own. Lu Chongqing shook his head, knowing full well the difficulty of cultivating a secret technique. This soul dispersion needle required divine sense to follow a mysterious rhythm and form into ancient, intricate runes before slowly condensing into the soul dispersion needle. Every step had to be flawless, and he would have to slowly become proficient with it. Not like the techniques he obtained from the system, which he could master perfectly right away. Forget it, he'll study it later. Chapter 389. Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasured jade ruby. Lu Chongqing shook his head. He was not an ascetic cultivator. He had already been in seclusion for so long. He was not willing to spend several more months focusing solely on the study of secret techniques. He pushed the door and walked out of the practice room. The many-fold increase in his divine sense had changed the way he viewed the world. The entire world seemed more vibrant and lively. The vitality of all things rose and fell, each with its distinct charm. Looking up, he saw the great formation that enshrouded Qingzhou Mountain, where mana flowed, transformed, and varied, all following a certain pattern. Now that I have a divine sense comparable to that of late Foundation establishment, if I were to study formation, becoming a first-grade array master shouldn't be difficult, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Many skills, as one's cultivation level and strength increased, became less challenging to grasp. This was especially evident with formations. Array master was a profession with a very high threshold. It was even more dependent on innate talent than talisman making. But with a breakthrough to foundation establishment and the possession of divine sense, learning formations would become much easier. Because divine sense was advantageous for studying pattern details, observing the evolution of great formations, and precisely arranging formations, among other things. However, even with these advantages, advancing to second rank would still take an unknown amount of time and effort. Lu Chongqing shook his head. He had no intention of trying to delve into these matters himself. With the time and effort that would take, he might as well have a few more children in the hope of drawing a second-rank formation. Half a month later, Lu Chongqing was chatting with Chu Zhenjin in the courtyard, keeping the children company. At that moment, Lu Chongqing felt a stream of qi enter his body out of nowhere. He knew it was his son Lu Chuanjin who had completed drawing qi into his body. Indeed, it's not an achievement award for just one child, Lu Chongqing murmured to himself. He felt neither disappointed nor perturbed. He was very calm. After all, he had suspected that probably only after 5 or 10 children had completed drawing qi into their bodies would any reward be triggered. Dad, Mom, I've completed drawing qi into my body. Soon after, his son Lu Chuanjin came running over excitedly to share the good news. Indeed, after cultivating, one looks much more handsome and pleasing to the eye. Chu Zhenjin, hearing of her son's successful cultivation, promptly looked at him with joy, pinched his little face, and made Lu Chuanjin show a helpless expression. He felt that his mother, despite her age, still acted like a child and was even more childish than himself. Normally, he would have finished refining the 9 treasure jade ruby much earlier, but due to various trivial matters, and the dual cultivation with Xiao Xie and so forth, it was only now he had completed the refinement of this heavenly spiritual treasure. This 9 treasure jade ruby is a heavenly spiritual treasure, and I plan to integrate and refine it into my life-bound treasured bone. Therefore, to be safe, it's better to solidify this 9 treasure jade ruby into my chest bone. Lu Chongqing had long made plans for the 9 treasure jade ruby. He intended to consolidate it into his chest bone first, wait until he broke through the 5th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body technique, then thoroughly integrate the 9 treasure jade ruby with the Baogu method into his life-bound treasured bone. Once the life-bound treasured bone was formed, henceforth the chest bone would be the 9 treasure jade ruby, and the 9 treasure jade ruby would be his chest bone. In that way, he would be able to attain the 9 great divine abilities of the 9 treasure jade ruby permanently. Cha! Lu Chongqing unbuttoned his magical robe to reveal his muscular, sculpted chest, and with a light shout, the 100 refinements treasure body art circulated, preparing to extract the black dragon magical bead currently in his chest bone. Chapter 390. Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade ruby. _4 As the cultivation technique circulated, a treasure light flowed around his chest, and the imprint of the black dragon magical bead gradually surfaced, becoming clearly visible. The treasure light flowed, dazzling and splendid, flesh crawled as the black dragon magical bead slowly emerged from his chest. This process was exceedingly slow and also extremely painful. After a long time, Lu Chongqing finally extracted the black dragon magical bead from his breastbone. Huff puff puff. Lu Chongqing rubbed his breastbone, gasping for breath and feeling somewhat fatigued. At this moment, the black dragon magical bead's dark light was dimmed. Inside, the miniature flood dragon was even more listless, on its last breath. Naturally, Lu Chongqing knew that this black dragon magical bead, which had accompanied him for 10 years, had its origin source depleted by half. The once middle-grade magical treasure now couldn't even be counted as a lower-grade one. It was only a half-ruined magical treasure. If he continued to use it for cultivating the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he estimated that in another decade, once the 100 Refinements treasure body art was cultivated to the 5th layer, this black dragon magical bead would be completely spent. Merely 10 years have let me cultivate the 100 Refinements treasure body art from the 1st layer to now. It was worth it. Lu Chongqing looked at the black dragon magical bead in his hand and let out a light breath. He didn't feel any heartache. In his view, this black dragon magical bead had allowed him to cultivate the 100 Refinements treasure body art to this level in just 10 years, which was quite acceptable. After all, since the magical treasure was integrated into his body, he hadn't spent any time cultivating this technique. It had been entirely automatic. During this period, it had also been used to nurture his treasure bones. Under such circumstances, he could accept a higher cost. He took an elixir medicine and began to circulate his cultivation to recover his state. Just now, extracting the black dragon magical bead had also taken a significant toll on him. What followed, the integration of the 9 treasure jade ruby, was also a major undertaking. He had to maintain his peak condition. One day later, Lu Chongqing, fully restored and energized, began to integrate the 9 treasure jade ruby into his body. It took him a full 3 days to successfully integrate the 9 treasure jade ruby into his body, causing a 9-colored ruby pattern to appear on his chest. The instant he completed the integration, Lu Chongqing immediately felt an immense force surge from his chest, refining his flesh, blood vessels, and bones. This effect was completely 2 or 3 times that of the black dragon magical bead. I also cultivate this technique, so I can easily sense it, Lu Chongqing said with a light laugh. He continued to inquire, Sister Miaoga, how much did your cultivation level get affected by completing the technique transition? Generally, transitioning to a new cultivation technique incurs some loss. This technique and the previously cultivated Xian Yuanju are both water attribute cultivation techniques, so the loss wasn't much, roughly 20%, she said. Although 20% was lost, I can feel my spiritual power is 20% more profound, Lu Miaoga said excitedly, her beautiful eyes shimmering. She could clearly sense the sophistication and power of the Saturn Solar Sword technique. That's good? Lu Chongqing nodded, thinking the loss was manageable. After all, compared to the foundation increase, this slight setback in cultivation wasn't significant. It could be recovered with a bit more time and effort. Afterward, he also further instructed and taught Lu Miaoga about the cultivation of the Saturn Solar Sword technique, as well as the accompanying techniques. Previously, it was the increase in probability of spiritual root amongst the offspring. Now it's an increase in the probability of offspring reproduction. Every time a cultivator breaks through a cultivation realm, reproduction becomes more difficult. I wonder how significant this 5% probability increase is. Moreover, this increase in probability is probably only on my part. But the difficulty of cultivators conceiving increases after gaining strength, and it's the same for both male and female cultivators. Lu Chongqing, looking at the increase of 5% probability for offspring reproduction on the system prompt, pondered silently. He knew that each major realm breakthrough made reproduction more difficult for cultivators. But he had no way to judge just how much more difficult it had become. And there were no records of this in the cultivation world. After all, everyone practices different cultivation techniques, condenses different Tao foundations, has different personal situations, and the final outcomes could be different. Moreover, not many cultivators would study such matters. Changxing, what's wrong? Just then, Xiaoxia noticed Lu Changxing was slightly lost in thought and asked, "Nothing. I was just thinking about something." Lu Changxing, hearing Xiaoxia's voice, immediately came back to reality and chuckled. Hearing his response, Xiaoxia did not inquire further. The two continued to chat leisurely for a while and then lay down to sleep in each other's arms. The next day, Lu Changxing left Xiaoxia's cave abode and went to his own peace talisman hall. Then Lu Pingon looked up with hopeful eyes and asked if one couldn't become a cultivator without a spiritual root. This hope gu, can it only enlighten one person or? Lu Changsheng's mental spirit stirred slightly, and he extracted the hope gu from the system. Suddenly, the hope gu, the size of a thumb and resembling an orb of light, appeared in his hand. The details about the hope gu entered his mind. Just like the peach blossom gu, it could only be used once, enabling a person to gain enlightenment and produce a spiritual root. As for the quality of the engendered spiritual root, it would depend on the individual circumstances and be influenced by one's physical condition and the intensity of hope in their heart. Besides enlightenment and the production of spiritual roots, the hope gu had another effect. That is, in the face of desperate situations, as long as hope remained unextinguished in one's heart, the gu could forcibly trigger one's potential. Sigh! I'll give this hope gu to Pingon. Lu Changsheng looked at the hope gu in his hand and let out a breath. He planned to give the hope gu to his eldest son, Lu Pingon. This was his first son. He had been brought up from a young age, to whom he had devoted much affection. Moreover, this son had always been a source of pride and peace of mind. Now that Lu Pingon had broken through to the martial Dao innate and obtained a lottery draw, it seemed like a stroke of fate that he got the hope gu. However, the hope gus ability to enlighten mortals and engender spiritual roots is too shocking to the world. If I use the hope gu to enlighten Pingon now, it might attract trouble. And there's the issue of inequality, not just scarcity. The hope gu is just one, only able to grant a spiritual root to one person. Other children, who once thought spiritual roots were innate and had accepted reality, may now become upset and resentful upon seeing Pingon with a spiritual root. Therefore, the existence of the hope gu must absolutely be kept a secret. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. He knew many of his children had dreams of cultivation. Or rather, having been born on Qingzhou Mountain and raised in such an environment, it was impossible for them not to aspire to become cultivators. But since spiritual roots are innate and they didn't possess them, accepting reality was their only option. If they saw that he enabled Lu Pingon to develop a spiritual root, it would easily upset the balance. Even his wives, upon knowing that he possessed such an object and chose to give it to Lu Pingon, would feel uncomfortable, even if they did not voice it. Pingon has just broken through to the innate level and is preparing to travel abroad for trials. It's a good opportunity for him to temper himself. Later on, he'll see how things go and decide whether to give him the hope gu. As for the hope gu matter, there's no need to let anyone know. Chapter 393. Encountering the girl you like. Bring them all back. Lu Changxing took out a jade box, stored the hope gu inside, and then placed it into the spiritual pet bag. Initially, when Lu Pingon said he wanted to go out for training experiences, he told him to break through to the innate level first. Now that he had broken through to innate, he naturally wouldn't say much more. But with his son leaving home as a father, there were naturally some things he needed to explain. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiaoxia, Lu Changxing rode the Iron Feather Eagle back to Qingzhou Mountain. After dealing with some minor matters and staying for half a month on Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing took Bai Ling with him to Rui Prefecture. By now, Bai Ling's cultivation level had reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. It was estimated that before long, she would break through to the 4th level of qi refinement. This rate of progress was truly astonishing. Lu Chongxing guessed that his earlier assumption of Bai Ling having a high-grade spiritual root was actually an underestimation. Given Bai Ling's speed of cultivation, she was likely to reach perfection in qi refinement and be ready for foundation establishment in her 20s. Linger. Aren't you bored being at Qingyu Mountain every day? As the iron feather eagle soared through the sky, Lu Chongxing asked Bai Ling, Not at all. Everyone here is so nice. Sister Yun, Sister Zhenjin, Sister Zhue. They all treat me so well. And Rui, Xiaoru, Qingshan, and Xiaozhu often play with me too. Upon hearing this, Bai Ling immediately responded cheerfully. In her eyes, Qingzhou Mountain was nothing short of a paradise on earth. Not only did they not dislike or shun her here, but they also liked her very much, took care of her, and played with her. So, after spending a little over a year on Qingzhou Mountain, Bai Ling's personality had become much more cheerful. She was no longer the same as before, socially anxious and tense when meeting people, her face timid and afraid. Of course, this cheerfulness was currently limited to being within Lu Changsheng's estate, in front of the wives, maids, and children of Lu Chongxing. Once she stepped outside the estate, facing other people on Qingzhou Mountain, she became quiet and reticent again. But it was already much better than before. That's good. If there's anything, you can talk directly to your sister Yun. If it's not convenient, you can also talk directly to your brother. Seeing Bai Ling's happy face, Lu Chongxing couldn't help but smile gently. He rubbed the little girl's head, which was adorned with 2 buns. This had become a habit of his, and Bai Ling thoroughly enjoyed being affectionately rubbed on the head by him. 3 days later, the two arrived at Rui County City. Chapter 394. Encountering the girl you like. Bring them all back on a server. I don't have any grand plans. Just thinking of visiting Grandpa Li's place first. Instructor Zhao, Instructor Mu, and Uncle Li, Uncle Hong have all said that the Jianghu is dangerous. Before, Uncle Li mentioned that if I wanted to go out and travel, I could first go to the Crimson Whale Gang to see the perils of Jianghu and then decide whether or not I want to venture far. Lu Pingon spoke honestly. It's good that you have this idea. Going to the Crimson Whale Gang to gain some experience is also a good start. Hong Yi nodded in agreement upon hearing this. Because of their relationship with Hong Yi and Li Feiyu, the 3 families had much more interaction with each other. Under the care of Hong Yi, Li Feiyu's Crimson Whale Gang had been thriving, consistently handling Jianghu affairs for the Rui Marquis Mansion. It was not a bad idea for Lu Pingon to gain some experience at the Crimson Whale Gang. At least he would face some real situations. Otherwise, letting his son wander around aimlessly was something he, as a father, couldn't be at ease with. Dad, there's just Mom's side that he'll need you to talk to. Lu Pingon scratched his head, looking somewhat embarrassed as he spoke. What? She learned you wanted to travel and she objected, didn't she? Lan Shu burst into laughter upon hearing this. His wife Lu Lanshu had the demeanor of a well-brought-up lady and naturally disliked her son engaging in fights and killings. Especially since Lu Pingon was the eldest son, she always hoped that he would read more, learn to conduct himself in society, and manage family affairs. Initially, she had consented to allow the child to practice martial arts because Lanshu had said all the children were training for the sake of strengthening their bodies and maintaining health. Otherwise, she would be reluctant to let Lu Pingon be engrossed in martial arts training. I mentioned it to Mom before. Not only did she refuse, but she also said that I'm not getting any younger and asked me what I think of Sister Schwer. But I've always seen Sister Schwer as if she were my own sister, Lu Pingon said, feeling helpless. The Sister Schwer he referred to was named Li Schwer, the daughter of Li Feiyu. She was 2 years younger than Lu Pingon, gentle and sensible, also favored by Lu Lanshu. Therefore, she also wished for this young girl to become her daughter-in-law. However, your mother is also right. You're indeed not young anymore. Lan Shu stroked his chin and said, "In this world, being married at 16 was considered normal." Although Li Shuer was still a little young, Lan Shu had brought up the matter to set things in motion early on. "Dad?" Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan's face immediately fell. All right, I'll talk to her about your mom's side in a bit. However, it's true that you're old enough to start considering these things. If you don't like Shuer, that's fine. After all, you grew up together. When you go out to travel in the Jianghu in the future, if you meet a girl you like, be sure to bring her back, you understand? Lan Shu said cheerfully. Although his children's children would also bring benefits to him, he might even be eligible for system achievement rewards. But Lan Shu would not pressure his children to marry and have children. If they were willing, that would be the best. He would give them considerable support and substantial rewards. If they didn't want to, he wouldn't force them, just letting things take their natural course. Yes, Dad. Seeing his father also address the matter, Lu Pingan's face showed resignation, as if he had deflated. Don't look so down. Dad's not forcing you, just don't let a good match pass you by. Let's go. I'll talk to your mother. Lan Shu, seeing his son like this, gave the boy's head an affectionate yet exasperated tap. He suddenly understood the feelings of parents who urge their children to marry. If Lu Pingan wasn't getting married now, he wouldn't be in a hurry or worried. After all, he was still young. He had several children too. But if his children grew older and he only had 1 or 2 kids, then surely he would be a bit anxious. Soon after, the two of them came to the backyard. Lan Shu looked towards his wife Lu Lan Shu. Lu Lan Shu was the same age as him. They had been married for nearly 17 years now. Although she didn't look as youthful as he did, still in his 20s. She had taken beautifying elixirs and, thanks to the nourishment of spirit rice over a long period, her skin was white and delicate, her face as tender and lovely as a lotus flower, relatively untouched by the traces of time. Her figure was also slender and graceful, showing no signs of having given birth to 3 children. My lord, Pingan. Lu Lan Shu, seeing her husband and son, walked forward gracefully. Her hair was neatly coiffed, adorned with a jade hairpin on the side. Dressed in a light turquoise palace gown, she exuded an air of dignified grace. As the wife of Lan Shu, she had come to manage many affairs of the Lu residence, developing an air of majestic elegance. Lan Shu, I already know about what's concerning Pingan. He's not young anymore. Since he wants to go out and see the world, let's allow him. Lan Shu looked at his wife, taking her hand, and spoke warmly. He understood his wife's sentiments. She hoped that Lu Pingan would inherit the family's secular business. Upon hearing this, Lu Lan Shu immediately glared at her son, causing Lu Pingan to lower his head, unable to look at his mother. She bit her lip and said, My lord, I really can't rest at ease with Pingan's character. If he goes out, who knows what will happen with all the fighting and killing out there. Her reluctance to let Lu Pingan go out was not solely because she wanted her son to settle down early and take over the family business, but also because she knew what her son was like, easy to take advantage of and too naive for the outside world. Lan Shu, I understand how you feel. You hope for Pingan to be safe and sound. I too wish for Pingan to always be safe, which was why I chose his name with that intention. But an eagle must eventually soar to the heavens, facing the abyss, the winds and the waves alone. It's an essential part of growing up. Although Pingan could avoid these experiences, it's also a good thing if he's willing to face them. That way, I can trust him with more responsibilities in the future. Lan Shu smiled gently, speaking to his wife. After a bit of casual conversation, Lu Lan Shu finally nodded in agreement. Though it was extremely hard for her to let go, if Lan Shu spoke up, she couldn't continue to object. After all, Lan Shu was the head of the family. You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.